In Gotham where the bricks stack high, Lego Batman swoops lighting up the sky. Legacy of the Dark Knight, looking so fine, got that reggae rhythm. Games divine, click clack, plastic capes in the breeze. Villains trembling, falling to their knees. From Arkham's ashes, a Lego star's born. This game's so hot, it's Rasta reborn. Oh, Lego Batman, legacy of the Dark Knight, shining so bright, it's still in the fight. Game of the year, 2026, it's true. GTA 6 crying, what we gonna do? A Lego game picking up Arkham's crown. Suicide Squad, y'all let us down. Rasta Cave with a brick built vibe. Lego Dark Knight keeping hope alive. Batarang snapping, built from Lego blocks. Penguins waddling, but he's out of stock. Suicide Squad tried, but he crashed and burned. Should have been like this, man, lessons learned. GTA 6, Vice City's looking shook. Lego Batman's got them shook in their books. A toy game taking Arkham's holy grail. That's the capes winning, that's the funny tale. Oh, Lego Batman, legacy of the Dark Knight, shining so bright, it's still in the fight. Game of the year, 2026, it's true. GTA 6 crying, what we gonna do? A Lego game picking up Arkham's crown. Suicide Squad, y'all let us down. Rasta Cave with a brick built vibe. Lego Dark Knight keeping hope alive. Yo, Rocksteady, what happened, man? Your squad game flop left us all withdrawn. Lego's got the mantle, carrying the flame. A brick built Batman running the game. GTA 6 calling, yo, we're scared. Lego Bruce Wayne got 'em unprepared. Jah bless the bricks, this game's the one. 2026 Batman's having too much fun. Oh, Lego Batman, legacy of the Dark Knight, shining so bright, it's still in the fight. Game of the year, 2026, it's true. GTA 6 crying, what we gonna do? A Lego game picking up Arkham's crown. Suicide Squad, y'all let us down. Fade out with the bass in the Gotham light. Lego Batman, Irie taking flight.
That's most definitely what's up. That's most definitely what's up.
This is a song for a Battlefield 6. EA, we're begging, please don't break our hearts with tricks. Grab your controllers, let's hope for the best. We're pleading for a game that stands above the rest. Oh, Battlefield 6, we're counting on you. EA, your last games left us feeling so blue. Battlefield 4 had bugs that made us sigh. Crashes and glitches brought tears to our eyes. Battlefield 2042, oh, what went wrong? No scoreboard, no spirit, it didn't belong. We want epic battles, tanks that roar and boom. Please, EA, don't lock it all behind the paywall's gloom. This is our plea for Battlefield 6. Yeah, we're begging, don't repeat those old tricks. No pricey loot boxes, no greedy schemes. Give us a game that fulfills our dreams. We want a war that feels alive and grand. Battlefield 6, please take a stand. Gamers are praying from cities to towns. Don't mess this up, EA, don't let us down. We want maps that shine with beauty and flow, not a broken launch that steals the show. Your past few games, they stumbled and fell. Servers that crashed put us through pure hell, but we're holding hope like a spark in the night. Battlefield 6, please make it right. This is our plea for Battlefield 6. EA, we're begging, don't repeat those old tricks. No 20 skins for a rusty old gun. Just let us fight and have some honest fun. We want a war that feels alive and grand. Battlefield 6, please take a stand. Listen, yeah, we're down on our knees. No overpriced passes, we're begging you, please. We don't need a store for every single thing. Just give us jet squads and that Battlefield ring. The world is watching from streams to the news, hoping this game won't leave us confused. Make it feel alive, let the battles ignite. Battlefield 6, oh please get it right. We dream of a game where the servers stay strong, where the hitboxes work and the lag is long gone. No more pre-order now for a shiny new knife. Just give us the chaos that brings war to life. With the frostbite engine, make the visuals glow. Take your time, EA, let the quality show. The world's holding its breath from New York to Nome. Battlefield 6, bring the soldiers back home. This is our plea for Battlefield 6. EA, we're begging, don't repeat those old tricks. No pricey loot boxes, no greedy schemes. Give us a game that fulfills our dreams. We want a war that feels alive and grand. Battlefield 6, please take a stand. Oh, Battlefield 6, we're rooting for you. EA, please don't break our hearts, we're begging you true. From the battlefield's dust to the skies up above, make a game we'll all cherish with joy and with love. One chance, one game, we're pleading today. Don't let hope slip away.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another lovely day. It's true. It's true. Lego Batman looks amazing, as does Lego or Battlefield 6 still looks very good. Call of Duty didn't win me over. We do have to start the show on a somber note, unfortunately. As I mean, it's at this point, people have had the weekend to be aware of it, but I did want to say rest in peace to the gothic bad boy, King Cobra. We use him on our soundboard all the time.
That's most definitely what's up.
That's King Cobra. And actually just a couple of months back, we actually had him record a cameo for us, specifically for sending a little message to Todd. And I just wanted to share this with you once more, because he did this just a little while ago. He passed away, sounds like on Thursday, I believe, in his sleep. They still don't know why. They think maybe like appendicitis or something, but he left us this message of wisdom for Todd.
Todd, do not screw up the Elder Scrolls 6. It's been ages since Skyrim, and if you can't play it or it sucks, we will have to use dark magic on Todd as punishment.
So rest in power, King. Rest in power. It's very sad. Most of us that followed him just wanted him to get better and to figure it out, but he unfortunately passed away. What's really crazy is there was actually a video that he recorded years ago, like 7-8 years ago, where he actually kind of predicted that this would happen. This is like actually kind of spooky how accurate it is. But listen to this. Because bear in mind, he just passed away at the age of 34.
34, I'll have a heart attack. Maybe when I'm 34, I'll have a heart attack and die. That'll be nice. Why 34, you ask? Well, because it has numbers 3 and 4, and because my 20s are gone, and I don't want to be 40, so screw it. If I die of a heart attack when I'm 34, so be it. So 27 right now, 28, 29, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll be 34 in 7 years. Oh joy. That's loads of fun to think about. No, not really. Alright, this is enough. Take the edge off a little bit, you know. I'm gonna sit here and
Rest in power. More recently, he was doing things like
I've been
this.
munching out on this here steak that I made.
food
Got
combos.
this, fresh slice of smoked salmon on top.
Yeah, very fresh. He was a guy that, you know, no matter what you think of Cobra, he showed that you can end up world famous with thousands of people following you, thinking, like, checking in on you, seeing what's up, by just being yourself, even if it's a little gross or dirty or slimy or greasy. If you're just yourself, you can still find an audience and people will still love you for it. So rest in power, King Cobra, JFS. Remember the nachos? Do you remember the spicy fish pizza? That was legendary. So yeah, greetings from Portugal. Glad to see you. Yeah, sorry, it was quiet. I can't control. He talked very quietly. There's an entire saga within the Cobra-verse called the Grease Saga, because his camera on his iMac was so covered in grease and like soot from the cigarettes and stuff that you couldn't see. So there was an entire period of like a year in like 2013 or something that where you just couldn't see him because he'd do these videos, but his camera was so dirty you couldn't see him, which is pretty hilarious. I think it was like a fan ended up visiting him in his apartment one day and specifically went over and walked to his camera and cleaned it off so people could finally see him, which is quite funny. Anyway, we have a handful of things to talk about. We're going to be doing this show with Jor Raptor here in a little bit. It's going to be a shorter show just because I think I got to get to the doctor. I believe I'm getting an ear infection, and so I got to nip that in the bud before it gets worse. I get these things every like 4 or 5 months, man. It drives me crazy. I've had them since I was little. I always get ear infections. It's happened. Now little Ori, my youngest son, he gets them too. It's really too bad. But yeah, I'm also greasy apparently. That's the problem. Ear infection is rough. Well, and it's specifically that it starts going all the way down your throat, you know. So then your throat and your ears hurt. It's just pain, you know. It's just pain. Chanster, thank you for the sub over on Twitch. Hell yeah, 12 months. Ooh, baby, a full year. Love to see it. 1 year, ooh baby, hot take. Let's see if Chad agrees. Bayek should have gotten a trilogy like Ezio to show his journey building up the hidden ones. AC does better when they take a well-made foundation and build on it. Instead of doing Odyssey and Valhalla, show Bayek's journey from when he created the assassins, show it grow, give us the juicy lore we crave, and send him off properly. It hurts more because the protagonist quality declined after Origins. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. I totally agree. I think Bayek is one of my favorite protagonists they've ever had. And I think he had a lot more potential than they used him for. I understand why they started focusing so much on Cassandra. Even now they're doing tie-ins with Cassandra with pretty much every other game that comes after that. But I would much prefer Bayek be the focus, because I feel like Cassandra, that was kind of a decision they made after the fact to make Cassandra into the focus. Again, she's not bad. She's perfectly fine as a protagonist. I just like Bayek more, personally. I didn't know I had tips still turned on, but hell yeah, thank you. Aspects. It's gonna read it.
Essay donated $3.
Thank
Hey
you.
there, Luke. Do you think Black Myth Wukong is a Souls-like game? It shares many aspects to From Software's array of titles, and if you die, you live by the consequences.
Oh. It took me a second. Do I have that soundbite?
Death to all of
No.
them.
Time to play the game.
No.
Live with the consequences.
Yeah, it is true. In those games, you have to live with the consequences. As for whether I would consider it a Soulsborne, I don't know. I don't think there's enough like action RPG elements probably to consider it. I think it's more of an action, like just a typical action game. When I think FromSoft adjacent games or just Soulsborne games, I think there has to be a good amount more customization. I mean, there's a reason they call it Soulsborne and not Soulsborne Sekiro-like. You know, like Sekiro doesn't even really fit into the Soulsborne architecture either. It doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just means it's a different kind of thing. So I would say that I probably would not consider it in the same category. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just different. Playing through AC3, most of Connor's line reads are so dry to me. Katie, you're not alone there. It is just dry. And here's the thing, like, you remember some of the dialogue that freaking Nawe would say? I wonder if I have it bookmarked. Some of the dialogue that Nawe would deliver in AC Shadows was so dry. It was like, what are we doing? And somebody told me, they're like, Luke, that's actually just a cultural difference. That's just how like Japanese people talk, I guess. And I'm like, for one, I don't think that's true. And secondly, okay, it comes off as dry even still. Like, it doesn't really matter if that's how it just is. That's how the actress talks. Okay, hire a different actress. You know, like, it's not my fault that the delivery is so dry that I think something's wrong. The old saying, you know, perception is reality. And if my perception is that the delivery is dry, boring, and uninteresting, even if that's actually grounded in how the actress actually talks or behaves, it doesn't really matter, because I still found it bland and a bad delivery. I can't find it. I can't find the clip. There was one clip in particular I had that I, fit well with this, but I can't find it. Yeah, the Japanese dub was miles better. That's what I've heard. And the few times I've heard interviews with the actress who played Nawe in the English dub, she had this weird, I don't know how to even phrase it, but it was almost like a, not quite contempt, but it was just like a I don't know. I got the vibe that she was taking the paycheck. You know, she wasn't pouring her heart into it. There's a couple of segments where I think she was going all out. Like in the opening segment, no spoilers, but the opening segment, something happens with her family, and I think she was going all out there. But some of the dialogue for those side quests and stuff, I was like, are you on your phone while you're recording these lines? What are we doing?
99 pence through
Thank you.
Super Chat. Do you think a game like KCD2 or X33 needs to win GOTY for the gaming industry to survive and not be filled with the same cash grab crap? Or are we too far gone? Or will it not make much difference?
First of all, thank you for the 10. Secondly, I'm not one of these doom and gloom guys. Like, some people act like every year the industry is collapsing, like gaming is dead and we have killed it. I'm not one of those people. Gaming is bigger than it's ever been. There is a lot of slop, there's a lot of garbage, but there always has been. Like, there was the video game crash of the 1980s 40 years ago because there was so much slop being sold to people for what's price adjusted today, like $100 a copy. Like, the doom and gloom thing tends to, I think, be greatly exaggerated. So do I think they need to win Game of the Year at KCD2 or Expedition 33 in order for the gaming industry to survive? No. I mean, I hope they win one of those two wins, because I think those are the two best games of the year so far. But does it need to? No. Like, the industry will be totally fine, even if something gets robbed, you know? Like, it'll be totally fine. Yeah, and it's going to be fine, because whether or not they win an award, they still sold like gangbusters because people liked the games and they were good. You know? I I hear people throw around like the industry's dying, everything's collapsing, and I just don't see it. Like, I don't think there's really any stats you can use. Right now, the big scandal in the finance world as it pertains to the gaming industry is that it's not growing as fast as it has been in the past. It's still growing. If it were shrinking, we'd be in trouble. If it was like, hey, spending and releases and everything else are going down by 5-10% annually, then it's time to start freaking out, because that means money's being pulled out, production's going to shrink and all that. But that's not really what's happening. Instead it's growing. It's just slowed down a little because people don't have as much money, you know. Do people make out it's sinking for views and clickbait? I mean, I don't know. I don't, maybe I just don't follow the people that do it, but I can't think of like any YouTubers that commonly push that are in the gaming space. There's like culture warrior dudes that will do that kind of thing. Sure. You know, the movie industry's collapsing, TV's collapsing, streaming's collapsing, everything's collapsing, the country's collapsing. Like, that's always been the case. I grew up in a household where it was like, any year now the Civil War is gonna break out. Like, I had family members telling me this when I was 5 years old. Okay, so I'm just numb to it now. And it's like, when you have this apocalyptic view of the world where everything is about to collapse, I just eventually, you know, it's the boy who cried wolf. I'm just like, okay, well, whatever. You have fun with that. You know, do whatever. It's also, I don't think it's that useful, you know, to believe that everything's about to collapse. Because, okay, if everything collapses, we're going to deal with it. Oh, crap. Let's see. But yeah, anyway, I just don't tend to go doom and gloom. Bender the Offender, thank you for the 11 months. Are you going to play Gears Reloaded and review it? Maybe not like a sorted review, but I do plan on trying it and playing it. Let's see. Yeah, I do plan on doing that. RPG Veteran, thank you for that 5. Luke, I've been grinding the finals, and I think this is the most underrated game of the last 2 years. I see a lot of content creators giving it its flowers now. Yeah, dude, the finals is very good. It's very good. I hope it does get the flowers it deserves. I don't know exactly why it hasn't like blown up as much as it should have, but yeah, man, it's very good. It's bonita, dare I say. Everybody that's played it that I've seen is like, yeah, the finals is really good, but it just hasn't like broken into the massive mainstream as much as you would think. Okay. Let me just double check this. Anyway. Yeah, thank God Expedition 33 is not for everybody. They're not Ubisoft. Dude, I was literally just talking to somebody who was talking about how like they were concerned over games going too mainstream and everything. And I was like, no, I mean, it's kind of a fallacy to think that games have to go mainstream with mass market appeal in order to be successful. Because pretty clearly you can have games that are much more niche that can still pop off and be hugely successful. Like freaking even Baldur's Gate 3. We're talking about a game that is a turn-based, based on a tabletop RPG that is pretty mechanically complex, very deep, very slow and methodical in how it tells its story and everything. And that game blew up to be like the biggest game of, almost the biggest game of 2023. It was massive and won Game of the Year and everything and was fantastically well received. And even like Expedition 33, we're talking about a like turn-based adventure RPG with like also really complex mechanics that takes inspiration from old like 90s era JRPGs, and that blew up into a massively successful game. KCD 2 also blew up tremendously successful, and it's like a hardcore sim medieval RPG. Like, these are not mainstream games, but they're popping off. You know, they're popping off because they're just really good games that really please the niche that they're appealing to. But anyway, it's I just, again, we can frame things any way we want, but I think at the end of the day, it can often not be too helpful to just go doom and gloom and whittle things down too simplistically. Okay. Also, I'm sorry. Every time I see this meme, I think it's Phil Spencer. Okay, I'm going to show you a picture of Phil. And tell me this doesn't look just like him, okay? This is Phil Spencer. This is a good picture. Okay, think of this. Phil Spencer.
Yeah! That was legitness. Yeah.
Tell me that doesn't look just like Phil Spencer. Come on, dude. Come on. That's Phil Spencer. I don't know what kind of aging serum they used on him, but dude, that's Phil Spencer. I don't even care what anybody says. I'm fully convinced. That's Phil Spencer right there. I just... That was legitness. Oh, what a gem. What a dude. I remember seeing that video years ago and just being like, huh, that looks like him. That looks like him. Okay, I gotta post this. Let's see. Okay, posted it. Dude, some of the meltdowns as it pertains to as it pertains to the Metal Gear Solid Delta terrible performance have been so hilarious. So hilarious. Like, people losing their minds that you dare say that the game runs poorly. It's like, actually, you're not even like an actual gamer if you think we shouldn't buy this. I'm like, bro, it runs at 720p, 30 frames in major chunks of the game because it's so poorly optimized. Even on a PS5 Pro, it runs at like max 756, or not max. It runs as low as 756p. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, really, honestly, tragic. Also, who did this? Who did this? Somebody DM'd me this, and I mean, it is okay. It's a little funny. Luke, you're being mean to Bella. Bella is worth millions, is world famous, and can like literally go live on a yacht for the next 50 years and be fine, okay? Oh no, Luke laughed at a meme. Cry me a river. Cry me a river. Get over it. Gonna be a superhero, dude. I was between, you'll see why I wore the Concord shirt today, but I was about to wear my my full meme shirt. We got this one printed up and it's just all of the Bella Ramsey memes. I almost wore this one today, but we'll save it. Today we're wearing Concord. You know why we're wearing Concord? You know why? Because Hermen Hulst said some stupid stuff about live service games. You ready? You ready? I'm not ready. Banana Blitz, real quick, thank you for the 5. Haven't played Expedition 33. I think I'd love it, but I don't have time to play the game that long right now, I don't think. I think it'll win Game of the Year. After seeing Jeff do a big musical performance for them at Gamescom, I think the odds have skyrocketed. I know a lot of people are like, he's just going to make Death Stranding 2 win it. For one, that's not really how the Game Awards work. They have a big jury, and it's not just up to him, as far as we're aware. Maybe he has override powers, I don't know. But as far as I know, that's not how it works. And the fact that he did that big musical performance thing for Expedition 33 at Gamescom Opening Night Live makes me think he's gonna treat it right. He's gonna treat it right. Have I finished Death Stranding 2? Not yet. Dude, I fell off it hard. I forget what other game came out right about then, but yeah, something else came out that we had to do a video on or cover or something. Was it Mafia? No, that would have been well after that. I don't know. There was something else. And so I took a break from Death Stranding 2, and I don't know how far I was in it, because of course I haven't finished it. Maybe like 70% of the way through, 80% of the way through. And after I finished that other game, I was just like, I don't know, man. I will get back to it. I will get back to it, and I will force myself to finish it. But yeah, I fell off it hard. It just... Everybody joked that the first Death Stranding was UPS delivery simulator, but that wasn't really true. The first game was like door-to-door mailman simulator, right? USPS delivery simulator. Death Stranding 2 is UPS delivery simulator. Like, it is so heavily built around, at least in the first half, like loading up your truck and driving across the map. And in my opinion, it just kind of can suck out that really interesting, relaxing loneliness that the first game had of just being in nature, hiking and climbing up rocks and boulders and stuff. And instead it just turned it into like a crappy driving simulator, in my opinion. I understand some people will disagree with that, but I was surprised how much it relied on trucks and massive deliveries and stuff. And it lost kind of that spirit that the first game had of that one guy navigating this vast wilderness alone. I just kind of lost that for me. But anyway, let's talk about this. So Spider-Man will be a dad now. Awesome. Damn right. And also Banana Blitz, thank you for the tube. PS5 bro. Yeah, dude. PS5 bro. Speaking of PS5, you want to see this? New segment. Well, everyone, it is a day ending in a Y, which means that Hermen Hulst has once more said something very, very stupid. He, of course, is the head honcho over at PlayStation Studios. He's one of the head people at PlayStation. I get it mixed up because he was demoted. He was co-CEO, and then he was demoted again back down to his previous position. They were like, we tried it. It's not us, it's you. Now he's done a further interview with the Financial Times. Now the Financial Times is behind a paywall, but Games Radar don't give no craps about it. They went and actually got the transcript of what was said. And as you can see, the title of their article is Architect of Sony's Disastrous Live Service Push Says Failures Are Good Actually, because now there's more rigorous and more frequent testing. This is some next level coping. Like, imagine being like, no. It's good that we got into all those car accidents. You know, like, say it's like, you know, I don't know, your Tesla, and you're like, hey, our cars keep exploding. It's like, hey, yeah, that's good. It's actually good because now we know that they can explode and we can try to avoid that in the future. Hey, I run a company that makes deep water submersibles to go explore the Titanic. It's actually good that this one got turned inside out because now we know that can happen and we can try to make one that doesn't do that. Which, yes, we should have been doing from the start, but now we can try to not do that again. Some big brain logic. Bear in mind, this guy makes a lot more money than you, okay? You're like, this sounds really dumb. And he makes more in a year than you'll make in your lifetime. Just keep that in mind as we go through this. Yeah. Let's see what he says specifically. Okay. PlayStation boss Hermen Hulst has said that live service failures are good for the development of their future attempts. One of Sony's first major pushes into the live service space was Concord, and for those of you who managed to miss out on the fiasco, it pulled offline after 2 weeks of being out, not long after Sony killed the game and the studio behind it. Meaning that after 8 years of development time, there were basically for nothing. Concord was not a bad game. It was well made and relatively bug-free, but various factors, bad marketing, paid title in a genre full of free ones, bit generic, led to it being a disaster that makes the original Cyberpunk 2077 look tame. I mean, we can go into the nuance and minutia of the flop that was Concord. Some people boil it down, in my opinion, way too much and are just like, the character designs were bad. No, that's not why Concord failed. It was a mixture of like 15 things, each one of which could cause a live service game to flop. And it just did all of them at the same time, confidently. And then they were shocked that nobody played it. It was a game nobody asked for. It wasn't unique or novel. It was sort of an Overwatch clone that was 8 years too late. And even then, it wasn't particularly interesting. The mechanics were fine. The gunplay was fine. I played it here on stream for hours. And like, it was fine. But in a super competitive market, you can't get away with fine. And the reason why it's important to clarify that this was not just one thing is because it was 15 things, all at the same time, each of which that could have been identified very, very early on. This game was allegedly greenlit by the original company that owned it in 2016 is when they started working on ideas for it. And then it kind of kickstarted, got developed. I believe that the studio Firewalk was bought by PlayStation in 2020, I believe, or 2021, right about there. And PlayStation bought out the studio and bought out the team and bought out the game and bought out the debt and everything that they had. And then spent another 100 million, 200 million, whatever, finishing the game because it still was nowhere near ready. And so what you ended up with was a game that never should have been made because nobody wanted it. Even Overwatch-like games that launched next to Overwatch, like Lawbreakers, ended up flopping. And those had a much more unique spin to them than Concord did. Like, Concord had really nothing unique. It had Hot Sauce Guy. Hot Sauce Guy's fun. He's a character. I couldn't tell you much about anybody else in the cast because they were so forgettable, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. I mean, seriously, across the board, Concord literally should never have been greenlit, should never have gotten across the finish line, should never have been bought by PlayStation. And that's what's important to note, is that this wasn't like, we just didn't market it quite right. No, even marketed very well, this still would have flopped. And that's important to understand. And yet PlayStation are unfazed. With development of live service titles going forward, Marathon is next in line. And from the sounds of things, it isn't going over swimmingly over there either. If you don't know, they're starting to clean house on the executive level. They just booted out the CEO. Oh, Luke, didn't you see the CEO retired? I think the CEO was welcomed to retire, just like Jim Ryan was. I think that they finally said enough is enough. Because you look at this news broke that Sony was starting to push out leadership at Bungie and they were going to take more and more control. This was posted on August 7th. This was the result of an interview that the CFO was doing at an earnings call. And just a matter of weeks later, the CEO of Bungie retires. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think those are connected. Okay. I think they told him, you can retire, go bye-bye, or we can fire you. And he just decided to retire and run off with his millions as he was allowed to do. Now, as you can see, PlayStation boss Hermen Hulst has said that live service failures. Oh, I just read that one. Marathon's not going over too well either. Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO. So he's SIE CEO, not PlayStation Studios CEO, but he's SIE CEO. Okay. Hermen Hulst spoke to the Financial Times in a paywalled article that's been recapped by Genki on Twitter about Concord's failures and Sony's continued push to live service despite it. Hulst says the fiasco has led Sony to put in place much more rigorous and frequent testing. And he says the advantage of every failure is that people now understand how necessary oversight is. This is being taken as a reason for him to get more involved. Remember, the leaks were suggesting that Hermen was calling Concord a Star Wars level property. How He was saying that this was going to be their next big thing, that this was going to be the next billion-dollar franchise for them. And this is the guy that wants more control over these projects. Bear that in mind. Yes, it means Marathon's going to get Aloy as a playable character. The original post from Genki, as you can see, Hermen Hulst says the number of live service releases is not so important and that PlayStation have learned from the failure of Concord. I don't want teams to always play it safe, but I would like for us, when we fail, to fail early and cheaply. Yeah. And this is a sentiment that's been echoed from Xbox and PlayStation. When Xbox took over ZeniMax, there was reporting, I believe from Jason Schreier, don't quote me on that, but there was reporting that specifically Arcane Austin, who were making Redfall, and we all remember how Redfall went, there's reporting that the people at that studio were hoping that after the acquisition, Microsoft would step in and shut down the project and let them go make like Prey 2. That didn't happen though, because Phil Spencer, when he came in and bought them out, he said, I don't want to be that corporate guy that comes in and tells you what to do and what not to do. I don't want to do that. I want to let you do what you want to do. So I'm not going to control you. You're going to keep working on the game you were making before. Pretend I'm not here. Sounds great in principle. In actuality, turns out that ZeniMax had greenlit a bunch of projects to make their balance sheet look better, especially under the projections of what they might make in the future by greenlighting a bunch of live service games saying they were going to make millions when they would end up flopping.
Fearless Wolf donated £10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
The only language Sony understands is profit. Stop feeding the live service machine. Hit them in the wallet and watch how fast their strategy changes.
The problem is they got a taste of that sweet, sweet success with Helldivers, so they know what it can be. And I remember making a video back in like 2022 when Jim Ryan was still at the helm and talking about how this was the vision and everything. And it was, I remember making a video saying their goal is to make 10, 12, 15 live service games, throw them all at the wall and see what sticks. Because one success that makes $1 billion a year pays for all of the flops. So you just keep throwing stuff out and seeing what works. It's the same like approach that a lot of companies have with mobile games, with their other live service games. It's because if you get that one success, that is a Destiny level success, that is a Helldivers level success, that is a Halo success. Like if you have that one, it pays for everything else and then some, because a successful live service game can make so much money. As he continues on here, as he mentioned, they want these projects to fail early and cheaply, and that's what he claims is the new approach, that they're going to get involved early and then shut projects down if they don't think they'll be successful. That way they don't end up with a $400 million flop. They only end up with a $50 million flop that never is released. Right? That's the idea. The problem is, Hermen, baby darling, you and your boss, Jim Ryan, are the ones that bought out Firewalk before Concord was finished. Years and years before. You bought them out for reportedly somewhere between like $150 and $250 million. Most likely around $200 million. And then spent even more money getting it across the finish line. So I'm sorry. I don't think his judgment is that impressive. You know, because he's like, if only we had acted sooner and had more oversight sooner to prevent this from happening. Bro, you're the one that made this happen. Like, you're the one that thought this was going to be successful. That's the problem, is that you don't see what everyone else sees because you're out of touch and you don't know what people want. You think they just want Concord and Aloy, but it's a little more complicated than that. He says, the number of live service releases is not so important. What is important to me is having a diverse set of player experiences and a set of communities. Dude, the buzzwords. We don't want a bunch of games. We want a bunch of experiences. So games is what you mean? And we want a set of communities. Customers. Okay. Do I just need to translate? Is this what we're doing? We're just going to go through this? Okay. Got it. Thank you, Nix.
Nix Eliana donated $10 through Super Chat. Skydiver in free fall. My parachute failed to deploy, but that's okay, it just means they'll do more testing. Surly, this won't happen again, right?
Yeah, and to carry this forward, thank you for the 10. To carry this forward, it doesn't matter how many of our parachutes fail and people go plummeting to the earth. What's important is that they had a great experience and that we have a diverse set of communities jumping out of planes with our faulty parachutes. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it literally doesn't make any sense. All he's saying, again, corporate translation activated, the number of live service flops is not important. What is important to me is having a bunch of games and a bunch of different sets and groups of players and customers. It doesn't mean anything. Like that, it's nonsensical. We have since put in place much more rigorous and more frequent testing in very many different ways. The advantage of every failure is that people now understand how necessary that oversight is, because nobody wants to be a Concord. And to be fair, this does seem to be true, that there are more steps of oversight in the pipeline. That does seem to be true. If you remember, let me see if I can find it. The original article. Yeah, here it is. If you recall, just back in May, Jade Raymond, the founder and head of PlayStation-owned studio Haven Studios, left the company ahead of Fair Game $, and this reportedly comes after poor reception to a test of Haven's first game, Fair Games. And this is coming from Bloomberg, specifically saying that there was like a play test that was poorly received. Some developers at the studio were reportedly concerned about Fair Games' reception and the progress that had been made on the game. So it seems like in the wake of Concord, there are now play tests going on. I don't actually know if there were any play tests going on with Concord. I don't know. Does anybody in chat know? Has any like YouTuber or streamer said that they play tested Concord early? I have not seen it. And like behind the scenes, I've not heard that anybody did that. So maybe this is a new thing that they play test their games, which kind of seems like it should have been happening from the start, but apparently it wasn't. Doesn't sound like Concord was play tested by people, you know, in a way where they were looking for feedback, maybe just in a technical sense where they were looking for bugs, but not in a way where they were looking for feedback from community members or streamers, YouTubers, whatever. But that does seem to be a new thing, that they are doing that now, and they're actually taking action as a result of it. As you saw, they even seemingly booted out Jade Raymond, the founder of the studio, because they were not happy with it. Which is not great. There was a beta. Yeah, it's one of those betas that was like a month before launch, so it's like beta. But it's not really a beta. Like, it was more of an advertising marketing beta than it was a like, we're testing server infrastructure. I think it was in like June or July they did a beta, and then it launched in August. But anyway, continuing on, we take a very intentional approach to IP creation. Do you? Do you though? Understanding how a new concept can turn into an iconic franchise for PlayStation that can then again become a franchise for people beyond gaming. And this is the sort of desperation that I think just stunk across the board with Concord, was that they were trying really hard to make a Guardians of the Galaxy level game. And you could just tell that they had this idea for multimedia marketing pushes. They had this idea for like what did they call it? That anthology series. What was that called? There was like the Netflix series or Amazon Prime Video. That's what it was. Amazon Prime Video series that they did, specifically for Concord. And it was just like they were trying too hard to make it a thing. Secret Level. Thank you. Secret Level. Yeah, that was it. But But like they put all of this money into this world building, into these character designs, into these cinematics, when the game that they had was a hero-based shooter with pretty tiny levels, only a couple of, or a few game modes, and very little by way of unique gameplay elements. But hey, they had Hot Sauce Guy. I remember when they revealed this.
Spontaneous creative decision made after years of careful research.
Being really old and almost dying a bunch doesn't count as research.
Almost dying is the best way to learn how not to die. Besides,
That is somewhat poetic. Almost dying is the best way to learn how not to die. That's basically Hermen's philosophy. Is we're going to keep releasing stuff that almost kills the company so we can learn how not to kill the company. It's poetic, really, when you think of it. But I remember when they revealed this, people saw this and were like, oh, a new like Sony Studios like cinematic experience, and okay, this is interesting. And then right after this trailer played, they went to the shot. Remember, it was the studio founder and I think the game director at Firewalk, and they said Concord is a new 5v5 or 6v6 hero shooter. And immediately the whole chat is just L's everywhere. Because it was a game like this was interesting to people. They're like, ooh, a cinematic experience. This looks very high production value. This seems interesting. They're focusing on story and world building. Okay, this could be compelling. And then it turns out that it's just a hero shooter, you know? Literally, that's the extent of it. But hey, he likes hot sauce. That makes him relatable, right? Makes him relatable. I just think again with this, I don't understand how, like, what Sony executives see with Hermen. And I'm saying this as somebody, maybe this hurts my prospects as like a content creator. It means I won't get invited to PlayStation stuff. I don't know. But I'm going to say what I think. I don't understand how this guy like still has a job. I don't get it. And I don't understand what they see in him. I just don't see. I see a guy who has been attached to some of their biggest mistakes for the better part of 5-6 years at this point, for the entire generation. And I struggle to find something that he's been connected to that has been an overwhelming success. Horizon, I think, is the extent of it. Like, he comes from Guerrilla Games, and he, of course, worked on like Killzone and stuff like that. But even with that, since he's taken over the Horizon project and Sony in general, but since he's taken over, we've gotten from the Horizon team Forbidden West, which performed about as well as the first game. Doesn't seem to have actually outperformed it or significantly outperformed it. And beyond that, we've seen like the Lego game that flopped catastrophically, and then the VR game that was totally mid. And now they're going to be coming out with a live service, like big Monster Hunter clone with a Sea of Thieves skin on it. Like, I just don't know what we're doing, man. Hermen was demoted. Well, so what happened is he got promoted, and then he got promoted again to co-CEO with a guy from Japan, from corporate. And then he was demoted again back down to Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO. Maybe he has leverage. He's got some naughty photos or something. I don't see what they see in him. There's some reason he's still here. There's something that the CEO of Sony, Hiroki Totoki, there's something that these guys see in Hermen that makes them think he's the guy to run this ship. And I just don't see it. Maybe he successfully was able to kind of separate himself from Jim Ryan. I think that must have been what happened, is when it was clear Jim was on his way out. Hermen separated, maybe behind the scenes, and in terms of like the backdoor meetings, the board of directors meetings, and that type of thing, Hermen was able to make it clear that he disagreed with Jim's decisions on a lot of this stuff, so that they were like, okay, Hermen will still do live service stuff where the money is, but he disagrees with the guy that just screwed everything up, even though I don't think he really disagreed that much. So I don't know. There's got to be something else. Because like I've told you before, typically in corporate shenanigans, if something doesn't make sense, there is an answer. You just don't, like, you're missing a piece of the puzzle. You're missing a piece of information that explains what's going on. You're like, why? I remember us talking back in like 2017, 18. Why is Bethesda, Softworks, and ZeniMax, why are they greenlighting all of these live service projects? Why are they doing all of this? It doesn't make sense. And then we realized later, oh, no. They're doing that because they're about to shop themselves around. And by having a bunch of live service stuff on your books, you can project that you're going to make a lot more money than you probably actually will. And therefore you can charge more for your company. And that's, I made a video back in like 2018 or 19 saying that, predicting that they were going to shop around and try to find a buyer, a big one like Xbox. And then sure enough, they sold to Xbox. Because once we had that piece of missing information, everything made sense. I just don't know what that missing piece of information is with Hermen. Why is he still here? I don't see it. I feel like there's a lot more capable people out there, whether it's from Sony corporate or whether it's other people within PlayStation that they could promote and bring up. I don't know. It may honestly just be connections. It may honestly just be connections. He knows Kojima pretty well. He was able to land the espionage game. It could be that he's got connections with all these other studio directors and people. He's on a first name basis with a lot of them. I don't know. It's weird. But he's one of the lizard people that like hot sauce. Oh, maybe. Maybe. But anyway, this type of statement does not leave me more confident in Hermen. It makes me feel like he's about to just continue making the exact same mistakes for the next 5 years through the next generation until he inevitably retires and they put somebody else in his role. And I think that that's probably what's going to happen. Because right now, like with PlayStation's lineup of live service games, let's be perfectly honest. I'm just going to, real question. Honesty moment in chat. This is your chance to be seen in a stream clip. Honest moment. I'm going to list off a series of titles that we know exist. And I want you to tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how likely that is, in your opinion, honest moment here, how realistic or likely it is to be successful as a live service game. Not something that's big for a weekend, but something that people play for months, okay? So if you think it's like, oh, locked in, that's going to be huge. Like GTA Online, that's a 10. That's going to be massive. Concord was a 0. You know, that's what we're doing, okay? Number 1, first game. Fair game $. What are the odds that that pops off and is huge? Not seeing a lot of 10s. Not seeing a lot of 10s. Let's do another one. Marathon. I think that one's more likely. I'd give Marathon maybe like a 3, 2 or 3 in the state that we expect it to be. I think over a year or two of updates, it could actually become more successful, but I don't think it's going to be like, I don't think it's much higher than like a 3 at launch. Okay. There's more like 4 or 5s. Okay. 6s. I see a few 6s in there, but not a slam dunk, but a coin flip basically is what we're saying. 50-50. Yeah. Basically a coin flip. Okay. Let's try another one. The Horizon Monster Hunter game that is expected to have a similar art style to Sea of Thieves and will likely launch next to an actual Capcom Monster Hunter expansion because that's expected to come soon as well. Okay. I see more of a spread. I see a couple of like 8s, a 7, a 6, over 9,000. My Sprite froze. There's like a solid chunk of frozen Sprite in there. My mini fridge got too cold. 6s, 7, 6s. Okay, now in your mind, pretend like Jor is not going to play it. Okay, so that takes away 5,000 accounts by itself. he's got a bunch of consoles. I have to help it. I have to, yeah, all of his alt accounts. I think that one could be, I mean, so much of this depends on whether they're premium, and I think they're all premium, which is part of the problem. I think their plan is for like that Horizon game to probably launch it at like $50 to $70. I think they've spent so much money on that. There's no way that's a free-to-play game, right? The fact that Monster Hunter, as you're alluding to, the fact that Monster Hunter Wilds is so busted could really, really help it. But again, you got to remember, it's launching most likely right around the same time as like GTA 6 and the first expansion of Monster Hunter Wilds. And my stance has been, I feel like if people want to play a Monster Hunter game, they're going to play Monster Hunter. I feel like most Monster Hunter gamers are not going to leave Monster Hunter to go play the Sea of Thieves Horizon game. I think they're just different audiences. And I'm not sure if the Horizon audience is going to want to go play the Monster Hunter game instead of an actual Horizon game, you know? There's no Monster Hunter alternatives. Well, and my understanding is that this game is built around like 5-player, 6-player co-op. It's not built around like solo hunts and stuff. I know obviously Monster Hunter you can play with friends and stuff, but it's also very well balanced for solo play as well if you want. Whereas the Horizon game is much more focused on multiplayer. That's like the core component of it. Beyond that, we know that they have some other live service games, such as an additional Horizon MMO being produced by NCSoft out of South Korea. What's the number on that one? What's the number on that one? A live service MMO set in the Horizon universe being made by NCSoft. I think that one maybe not big in the West. I think it stands a decent shot in the East and Eastern markets. Because of course we've seen even Tencent's willing to throw money at those projects with like Light of Motirum, I think is what it was called. So clearly they think that there's potential there for something like that. But yeah, it could even end up being on mobile, all sorts of stuff. 6.9 if they make it a Gooner game. Who knows? Maybe they do. They made Horizon sexy and now it's popping off. Yeah. So I think, you know, and that's just what, 4 of these games. There are several others in production elsewhere at various studios that we don't know much about, that could end up popping off and being huge, that end up being kind of Helldivers like releases, but are just small enough projects that we just don't know much about them. But their biggest bets that we have heard of, that we do know and that are leaked and all this, those biggest bets, I think the confidence level is quite low based on the gut checks. And I think before launch, we all would have said the same things that we're saying now about Concord, which is why it was so kind of entertaining to see it collapse, because it was something any one of us could have warned them about. But the fact that the leadership at PlayStation thought it was such a slam dunk shows just how out of touch they are with the broader audience. So if all of you guys are saying these games sound like 0s out of 10 or 3s out of 10 or 4s out of 10, some people are memeing, obviously. Some people are like, yeah, minus 10,000. But at the end of the day, like I think the consensus is that these games are all a bit of a long stretch. Okay. So my perspective is just that they're going to continue making the same mistakes they've been making for the whole generation. Nothing's really going to change. Hermen's doubling down. They're going to keep throwing crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. But I do think we're going to hear more rumblings of big projects that were shut down completely, more cancellations. And that's ultimately what's happening. Is I think what happened after Concord was that Sony completed a full review of all of these projects, started doing play tests, started bringing in people to like do anonymous reviews of the game and be like, okay, try the God of War live service game we're working on. What do you think? And they try it. It gets bad scores. People are like, I would not pay $50 for this. I would not pay $60 for this. And they end up canceling it and walking away. And I think that is a a better way of doing it, because now they won't end up with releasing a bunch of big things that are flops and they burn all that money. It's better to cancel it early than waste all the time and money and resources making something that was never going to be successful. But it just means he's going to keep greenlighting stuff until they can find something. And they'll try to salvage the stuff they think they can salvage. I think they believe they can salvage Marathon. Just will take some time and money. They clearly see something with Fair Game $sign that they feel like they can save, because they've not canceled that as far as we're aware. They've not shut it down. The studio's still rocking. So they think they have something there, which I find interesting. If they're willing to get rid of the studio founder and director, what do they see that we aren't aware of? You know, I find that intriguing. Find it intriguing. I want to know more, but buckle up. We're going to have plenty more stories, I feel. Plenty more stories, I feel, when it comes to Hermen making mistakes. Lots of material. Lots of material. Imagine they try to buy Embark. Who knows? Maybe they've been making some calls. You never know. I think at this point, they would wait till after the Marathon Embark stuff settles. And you got to remember, for private companies, they don't, like with publicly traded companies, often you can go in and just kind of brute force your way through. It's called a hostile takeover, where like the board of directors doesn't want to sell their company to you, but you just start buying up shares until you're the majority shareholder. You know, that's how a hostile takeover happens. Ubisoft has fended off multiple of those because they have a bunch of big conglomerates that come in and try to buy them every like 5 to 10 years. But they've held it off so far. But on the flip side, like with Embark, because it's a privately held company, I believe, or is it owned by Embracer? It might be owned by Embracer. Who owns Embark? Is it totally independent? Parent organization is Nexon. Really? Who knew? Okay. So if they're actually fully owned by Nexon, then obviously they can't just buy them out. I thought they were privately held. Or are they published by Nexon? I don't know. Interesting. Just when you Google it, it pops up as their parent organization. See that? Oh, and it's category Embark Studios Games. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Learn something new every day. Okay. Hostile takeovers are bad. Okay. Bad. Okay. What else was I going to show you? Oh yeah, the Vampire Masquerade stuff is so depressing. It's so sad. Let's see. What's going on with Beyond Good and Evil 2? Allegedly, it's still being made. Allegedly. One of the head honchos and founders of Sandfall Interactive, the guys who made Expedition 33, his previous job before co-founding the studio behind Expedition was at Ubisoft, I think it was Montpellier, whatever, which is where they're making Beyond Good and Evil 2. So the guy that co-founded and made that phenomenal game, Expedition 33, his previous job was working on Beyond Good and Evil 2, allegedly, because it's at the same studio. Who knows? Maybe he was doing something else at the studio, like support work on AC or something, but it's interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Jumped off that ship. I mean, I think at some point it's just more exciting to work on your own thing. And honestly, if you were pitched Expedition 33 and given the chance to like co-found that studio and work on it, how exciting would that be? Like, hell yeah. If somebody told me 5 years ago about Expedition 33, pitched me the game and were like, hey, do you want to become an early investor or something with us? I'd be like, hell yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm so into this. They didn't do that. It's very sad. I did get approached by somebody that wanted money. It's happened a few times actually, but I did have a studio reach out to me and they were like, we can't offer you ownership, but will you be willing to just donate us like $10,000 to work on our game? It's like, who do you think you're dealing with? Like, you're not even asking for an investment where like when your game comes out, you'll pay me back the 10K. You're just saying, can you give me money, please? It's like, the game seems interesting, but I'm not just going to give you $10,000. What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, at the minimum is that you pay me back my money if this pops off and is successful. Still, it would be a terrible investment because I'm just treading water. I'm not making any money. I'm losing money to inflation. But you just want to take them. Like, what are we doing? Was it Mind's Eye? No. It was so ridiculous. I was kind of shocked when they asked me. You're not even asking for an investment. You're asking me to just give you cash. What are we doing? What are we doing? Do you get a lot of offers like that? Not like that. I've had like indie studios come and ask me if I'd be interested in like investing. The problem is that I get a lot of requests from people that are very passionate, but they don't have anything to show yet. So like if you have a one sheet or if you have a game design doc, even if the idea is great, if you're asking me to pay you money and give you money to invest in it so you can start making the game, I don't know if you even know how to make a game. I don't even know like if you're trustworthy. If you show me a vertical slice or a little demo of something you're working on and you say, this is how we'll expand it, we just need some cash to bring some other people on. Okay, now we can talk. Now we can investigate it. But when it's literally, can I just have money and then I swear I'll use it for game development? Like, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Have I invested yet? Not in anything I can talk about. Like the thing with it is like venture capital. Like you might invest in a company or a studio or something. But if they don't, like if they go belly up or the project falls apart or something, the money just goes away. So it's really, really high risk. Really high risk. But if it pops off and you get like a
Caleb
schedule
donated
one,
$10 through Super
it pays
Chat.
off, you know?
This is gonna sound like a steal then. You give me only 1K, a tenth of the investment, and in return you'll make even more money than Sony did with Concord. Trust me, bro, it's gonna be huge.
Hey, technically, you're right. Yeah, technically that math max. You'll make even more money than Sony did with Concord. It's technically zero, but still. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, no, if there's any game devs or indie studios out there that are interested in like investment opportunities or pitching investments, I'm always down to hear. I'm always down because I'd love to help a smaller studio out, you know, get the ball rolling. But you got to have something for me to like look at, you know, you got to have something for me to see the vision, because otherwise you just like you're put into the same category as the guy that's just asking me for money. It's just like, can I please have money? I'm sure you're a nice guy. I'm sure you're a great guy, but I can't just give you money as a gift. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Thank you, John, for the 5. Sounds like The Day Before or Little Devil Inside. Remember that game? Dude, The Day Before. Oh my god. Or Abandoned. We could talk about Abandoned. What a game. What a game. What a game. And this is how the Luke Fund for indie games was born. Dude, I would love to be able to invest in projects like that and to give somebody the opportunity to make the game they've always dreamt of making. But it's the same thing. People will ask me for like advice on making a YouTube channel or streaming or whatever. And then I look at their channel and they uploaded one video a year and a half before. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to spend the time to like write out a big email if I don't think you're even trying the bare minimum, you know? Like if I see that you're consistent with uploads and you're trying and you're working, then I'm happy to help you because you're trying, you know? That's like the bare minimum. But if you're just like coming and asking for stuff, it's in handouts. It's like, what are we doing? That doesn't work. I did have somebody, they sent me like 5 emails asking, I'm sure it was like a 12-year-old, but they sent me like 5 emails asking me if I could have, or if they could have like my 4090 when I upgrade to the 5090. I was like, I never said I was upgrading to the 5090. I don't think I need it. But the dude sent me like 5 emails just being like, yeah, so when you choose to upgrade, can I just have your 4090, please? It would mean a lot to me. I was like, do you do this with everybody? Like, does that work? Has that ever worked where somebody's like, sure, you can have it? Like, what are we talking? Talking about a $1,500 graphics card I'm just going to give you? Like, what are we doing? Call me a filthy capitalist. That hurts my soul to think of that. That crush some kid's dream. I did not reply to the email because, again, it might be a 10-year-old. It might be somebody that's just like out of their mind, or maybe they're trolling. I don't know. The funniest troll I ever got was when I told this story before, but it's when somebody signed up. I used to have like a personal email account, like a Gmail account. Now we have like a professional business one my manager runs and everything. But so it fixes this problem. But before I used a Gmail, and it was just like my personal Gmail account. That was how you could reach out and send me sponsorship offers and stuff. And somebody took that email and they signed me up for, no joke, for a Jehovah's Witness dating website, which, yes, there are Jehovah's Witness dating websites. And so I would just get a bunch of like emails every 6 hours of like attractive, godly or God-fearing, what was the exact phrasing? It was like maidens of God or something in your area. Like it was just like the stereotypical dating website message, but it was like framed around Jehovah's Witnesses, which was freaking hilarious. I was like, you know what? I can't even be mad. Like, yeah, I just hit unsubscribe and it's gone. But dude, it's pretty freaking funny to like sign me up for a Jehovah's Witness dating website. Like I respect that. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. But you know, some of the other stuff that like people do when they're upset that you criticize Starfield, not so funny, but that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Speaking of Starfield, should we watch a Maddie video? Let's do it. Let's do it. News, Amy. We got 30 minutes till Jor joins us. You ready? Let's blast through this. News, Amy. So the question on everybody's mind right now, Xbox, Todd. Wait, I need the candle. I need the candle before we pray. The question on everybody's mind, Todd, where is New Vegas Remastered? What are we doing? Everybody wants it. Everyone will throw money at you. Give it to us. Praise be. Yes, Todd smells like spiced pumpkin. Yes, he does. He smells delicious. Delicious. But that's the question everybody's wondering. And they're wondering it because it makes so much sense. You know, it's going to print money. It will print money if they can just put out a New Vegas remake, remaster. People have said sequel. I'm not sure a sequel, honestly, is that good of an idea. For one, because you got to remember, New Vegas is a fascinating story in the games industry because it really should not have worked. It was a game thrown together in 18 months by a studio that was in financial straits at the time. They threw it together. It still is a broken, buggy mess, but even at launch it was as well. Didn't review amazingly. It got like an 83 or 84 on Metacritic at the time. So it was like a B-. It was 1 point below the threshold for them to bonus. So Bethesda Softworks didn't have to pay them a bonus for New Vegas because they were 1 point short of it, which is tragic and kind of funny, but that's just how it works. And it also was a game that had tons of its original ideas cut because they just couldn't do it. The original artwork for Fallout New Vegas is fascinating because this is like some of the original artwork and concept art where you can see New Vegas was supposed to be this sprawling metropolis and everything. But what ended up happening was, of course, that they had to trim it down because they didn't have time and they didn't have the resources to do it justice the way that they wanted. So what they ended up doing was creating basically these like multiple districts where there's a wall here, and then there's a loading screen here, and then there's a loading screen back here. All of this is gone. We'll just cut all of that. And so you basically have 3 districts that are all really tiny, and that is the extent of the strip. But it worked for the game that it was, and the writing was so good, and the world building was so good and clever and interesting that it became a cult classic. But if you're gonna make a sequel, I think you have to realize this vision. And I'm gonna just be real. I don't think any studio that Xbox has is currently capable of delivering on that vision to the extent that people would love to see. I don't think BGS would do it justice. I don't think Obsidian would do it justice, because you gotta remember, Obsidian is making now games like Outer Worlds and Avowed. That's the kind of game you would get if they were to make a New Vegas 2. So, not to say they're bad, but it's just not going to be what I think you have in your head, you know? So I don't think they have a team that could do it. A team that could do it and pop it off, you know, I would love to see like a Larian Fallout game. I would love to see a CDPR Fallout game. All of those would be amazing, but those will literally never happen. Larian doesn't want to do licensed stuff anymore. They don't need to. They'll do their own IP. And CDPR has their hands full and also doesn't need to give up 20, 30% of every copy sold. They can just do their own stuff. They got their hands full with Witcher, Lord knows. So I love the idea of New Vegas 2 in concept, but I think in like once you get past that initial step and you start thinking about the execution, it's just not practical, and I don't think it would actually work out the way that people would hope that they would. But a remake, remaster, that's a slam dunk. You can fix the technical problems that have plagued the game since launch. You can add way more graphics options. You can make the game run more stable. You can add quality of life improvements such as the Fallout inventory menu when you loot stuff. It's the one mod I heavily recommend. If you're going to play New Vegas, install that mod. It's the Fallout 4 loot mod or whatever they call it on Nexus. And it makes it so when you look at a box, you can loot it from there without having to open up a dedicated menu like you did in Fallout 3. Life-changing. Will save you so much time. You will thank me. So they could add all sorts of little quality of life improvements like that. AI improvements, combat improvements, shooting improvements, like all that stuff. But then they keep the soul of it by just remaking everything else. I think that's my ideal, is to remaster / remake. I think a sequel probably would not turn out the way that most of us would want it to. That being said, Mr. Matty Plays, our resident Fallout expert aficionado, dude, he's even got the hoodie. Do I need to even bring up his credentials? He has a hoodie. I do kind of wish I had ordered a Fallout 76 hoodie, honestly. Like back in the day, you remember the ones in the Internet Historian video that look like garbage bags? I kind of wish I had one. Well, you live and you learn. I could have gotten a canvas bag, dude. Oh, too bad. I do have Todd's actual jacket. I do. Should I get that? Should I get that for this? We probably should. I think it's just in the closet around the corner. Hold on. I get it. Hold down the house, Maddie. Hold on. Okay, no, so the the Todd Howard jacket is apparently upstairs in my actual closet by the front door because it's very nice. It's just a nice leather jacket. But this was in the closet down here. This is, oh, it's already hot. This is the Starfield jacket that they sent me. It's huge, dude. It's huge. Hold on, zip. I can't get it to zip. The jacket's bugged. Okay. How do I look? Be honest with me. Be honest with me. Right? Okay, Molly. Yeah, not great. Dude, it's already so hot. Quick, hurry, Maddie. Tell me about New Vegas remaster. Tell me before I overheat.
Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and I was cleaning out my closet a few weeks ago, and I found this oldie but goodie. I remember unboxing this on the channel, what I believe was a Fallout loot crate video, but when I found—
Oh my God, young Maddie. Dude, it sounds weird to say grew up watching Maddie, because I don't think he's that much older than me. But I remember watching his like Fallout 4 hype videos back in like 2013, 14, like old school Maddie videos when he was still like, I'm assuming in his like childhood bedroom and stuff. I watched old school Maddie. I thought it was so cool.
Found it. I was so excited. I went, well,
I still think he's really cool, to be clear.
This was like 2015. Certainly this doesn't fit me, but when I put it on, it was a good, loose fit. It was just like old times. And speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to talk about Fallout New Vegas. I've been going through my comments, been going through my Twitter mentions, and I've been getting one question very often, or one statement.
What is
now's got to be the time that we get a New Vegas remaster, or I'm not replaying New Vegas now for Season 2. I'm waiting for that remake. And so, in natural Mr. Maddie fashion, we're going to get into the granular detail, starting with Fallout Season 1, working our way through the timeline of what I think Bethesda is planning for Season 2. And the too long didn't read is that if we do get a Fallout New Vegas remaster or a remake, whatever it may be, I think it's 2029 the earliest. And to get a little bit deeper than that,
2029, dude. That'll put it, what, just under 20 years after New Vegas, because it came out, what, 2010? 2010? Woof. And here's the other piece of this, okay? Here's the other piece of this, and why I'm kind of skeptical about all of this stuff in general. Everything leaks nowadays. Everything. Even with the FTC hearings, especially, like, you got to remember, the FTC hearings were a moment where Xbox had to disclose, they were mandated to disclose to the court their plans with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard and the lawsuits that were being filed from Sony and elsewhere, and the FTC just in general. I don't think Sony specifically filed the lawsuits. They were just supporting the lawsuits filed by the FTC. But anyway, they had to disclose a lot of stuff, and that's where we initially heard about the Oblivion remaster, was that they had to disclose that. And they also disclosed a Fallout 3 remaster as well that is expected probably to come out next year. Now, what's kind of funny about that is that they're taking the show to New Vegas, but not Washington. And yet they seemingly will have a remaster of Fallout 3 in Washington, D.C. at the same time that the show is going to the place where New Vegas takes place. It didn't time out super well, but I think it's just mismanagement on their part, not getting those projects greenlit in the proper order. There's also been speculation that maybe Todd, just in general, has a weird hate boner for New Vegas. They talk about it strangely. He's in recent years kind of reframed it as like, well, people act like we're upset about it. We're not upset about New Vegas. We love that game, and people forget we published that game. So I think the words Todd used was, we made that game because Bethesda Softworks published it. I don't know where the truth lies. I get the feeling that it's like, I've used the analogy before. It's like when the older brother has the much more successful younger brother. Like the older brother tried to get on the football team and was always on the bench, but the younger brother is always first string and is doing super, super well. He's like, yeah, I'm happy for my brother. But inside he's like seething and kind of jealous. I think that's basically Bethesda and Oblivion, that's kind of my expectation. But having said that, I think if they were doing a New Vegas right now, remaster, remake, whatever, it probably would have leaked. That's why I'm skeptical that it's actually in the works. People are like, oh, they're going to drop it as a surprise early next year. Nobody can name the studio working on it. That's the problem. Nobody knows. Like, we know every studio that Xbox owns. We know. But nobody can say which studio is working on an alleged New Vegas remaster, remake. Because I don't think it's currently being made. I think that's the problem. Anyway, continuing.
I think there's a possibility that Bethesda may not give us that at all and may opt to give us a brand new game set in that location. I'll break it all down, but this is a lot of speculation and fun conversation. I was originally...
Or, way more depressing, a Fallout 76 expansion set in New Vegas. I've had to bring this up many times. But Todd seems to view Fallout 76 as the actual, like, current Fallout thing. If you want to play Fallout 76. That's where you get it. Even though, like, fans of the narrative games, single player games, are not pleased with Fallout 76, it's not saying it's terrible or awful. It's just not what we want. You know, we don't play Fallout 76 because we're not interested in it. And I think that the odds are higher that there's going to be a Fallout 76 New Vegas expansion like late next year than there is like a dedicated remaster remake. That seems much more on brand for modern day Bethesda game studios than anything else. I'm sorry to potentially jinx it. Dude, that jacket's fire. Dude, it feels like fire. I am overheating like a mofo. But continuing.
Thinking maybe I hold this topic for later in the year when we get closer to the show. I imagine the video would do better that way. But as I thought about it more, for those who do watch my content frequently, this is a good way to set expectations. So I feel like you know what to expect going into the Season 2 launch. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, of course, if you're into Fallout, you're in the right place. But anything gaming, consider subscribing. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, go sub to Maddie.
So to get to where I want to get with New Vegas and its remake conversation, I want to start all the way at the beginning, Season 1. It's around the top of 2024, and if I'm Bethesda, here's what I think is going through their head. We have zero expectations for this show. We don't think it's going to do that great at all. Why do I think that? Number one, across the entire Fallout franchise, they had zero content ready for the launch of Season 1. I'm talking merch was barely being pushed. Fallout 76 got a Vault 33 jumpsuit. Fallout 4's next-gen update came out weeks after the TV show had already aired and the hype had kind of come and
it was kind of broken because they rushed it. It's still busted, dude. People still can't play the mods and use mods. Ultra-wide support, still totally busted. Like, the next-gen update is awful.
gone. And 3, they dropped the entire season at once. Amazon dropped the entire season at once. So when it banged, they were like, oh, okay. Well, now expectations seem to be in the right place if business moves are to tell us anything. 1, Fallout Day Stream being a thing. That's pretty important to note that they've identified somehow all this time later, Fallout is big enough to warrant having its own stream with its own slew of announcements every single year. 2, Amazon is doing Amazon things like now releasing Fallout Weekly to sustain its subscriber counts.
I think I suspect and am suspicious that maybe Xbox was cautious after Starfield and they were like, okay, maybe we don't put a ton of money into marketing this thing because maybe BGS just ain't at what we thought they were, but then they were surprised by it. But either way, it seems like a colossal miscalculation to think that Fallout, the TV show, wasn't going to be big. Maybe it was more like doubting Amazon in general because maybe they thought Amazon wasn't going to do a good job. But I don't know. It seems like such a blunder to screw that up.
3, Bethesda has said that Fallout 76 will actually have tie-in material with the show. More on that in a little bit. And 4, Xbox has reportedly greenlit both Fallout 5 and, according to Jordan Midler of Video Game Chronicle, the Fallout game that you have been asking for within a year of the show's launch.
Yeah, I don't know. That Jordan Midler interview, I was hoping for like any follow-ups from Skillup and Jake Baldino, but they didn't, which makes me wonder if they knew something or if he's memeing and joking. I don't know. I guess I could reach out. Maybe Jordan would come on the stream and we could talk about it. But it is just strange that he's claiming that there's a bunch of Fallout projects in the works, including the one that you're all wanting. But then he also was saying that Fallout 5, Todd's not going to be around to make it, which if it's coming in like the mid-2030s doesn't really make sense. But then I made the recent video where I pointed out that Todd's been walking back his statements around Fallout 5, suggesting maybe that they're doing another Starfield something between Elder Scrolls and Fallout. who knows? But I don't know. I've not heard from other sources that this is actually in the works. So it seems to be just a Jordan Middler thing, and I'm not sure what his source is. So I take it with a grain of salt.
So keeping that in mind, they didn't expect much because they somehow didn't know Fallout's like this huge phenomenon, and that if it was even the slightest bit good, we'd be all over it. So now we're seeing over the last year and a half the reaction to it all, the stream, the 76 tie-ins, the leaked greenlit projects of the ones that we've been waiting for a while. But where does Fallout New Vegas find itself in all of this? Well, again, let's continue to set these expectations, right? Bethesda's moving the right direction. We're giving you Fallout content. Why don't I think it's New Vegas? Well, first and foremost, if it's happening, it won't be for a while. Given how flat-footed Bethesda and co were caught with the TV show, this project would have been greenlit as early as maybe mid-2024. And I know it's hard to imagine as Fallout fans because we know how popular the brand is, but I guess at least they know now, right? But the timeline is impossible where they could get a remaster of New Vegas out in response to season 1 of the TV show for where season 2 was going, which was New Vegas. But furthermore, Bethesda kind of redefined the standards of remasters with Oblivion, which does throw a monkey wrench into it. It was the game we remembered, bugs and all, but with a new coat of paint on it. And if that is...
But it's also, I mean, New Vegas is another animal entirely, because like Joe with his $5 super chat says, Fallout New Vegas needs an update before season 2 drops. It's a top 10 game of all time for me, but hardly boots on some PCs. A remake without fixing the OG would be criminal. Well, that's the thing, is it barely runs even today. Like, in order to boot it, a lot of people have to go download specific mods or customize the INI files and do all sorts of stuff just to get it functioning, period. And the Oblivion remaster was interesting because it was, as far as I understand it, just the creation engine with an Unreal Engine wrapper around it. So it had better graphics, but was still the same game with the same bugs and the same clunk and everything. And that's cool with some of those older games like that. But with New Vegas, preserving the clunk means the game doesn't boot half the time, which obviously they don't want to do. So I'm sure it is a tricky thing to figure out. Papa Diaz, also thank you for the membership as well. And Banana Blitz says with a $5 super chat, nah, they should make a Starfield TV show next. Agree to disagree.
This is the standard versus what we were originally asking for, which for those who don't know that, who haven't been around the Mr. Matty content for a while, you can like find videos of me talking about Fallout 3 and New Vegas remasters and like 2013, 14, 15. Like, we went into it so many times. We were ready to just take like an up-resed port or even just a very basic bare minimum port of like the same exact game. But Bethesda has now shifted those expectations, and because they have shifted them, it means that these types of remasters will take longer, and especially when Bethesda sees how much money they are making off the Oblivion remaster. It's still one of the top selling games of the year. All the more reason to do exactly what you did last time, but try to one up yourself, try to do it even better. So yeah, if you have that window of time where, okay, we could greenlight this as early as mid 2024, it's just not enough time to get this remaster out the door for the show, which I know not everyone was asking like, oh, it has to drop around the show, but maybe they announce it in anticipation for season 2. I don't even think they go that far because, again, as I'm going to get into now, the timeline just doesn't work. I think it's way far out, if anything at all. Let's look at Fallout 3 for a brief moment. You see, Fallout 3 is planned, and I think this comes first, not only because that was the one that was originally planned, but because it can set the standard for what to expect with New Vegas. Fallout 3 and New Vegas, famously because they share the same engine, and Bethesda gave them the asset library to have Obsidian basically make New Vegas with those pieces and then some of their own in a little bit under 2 years. So I could see this very similar thing happening with the New Vegas remaster, especially when the game itself didn't add a ton of new major mechanics. Like, for example, one of the biggest additions to Fallout New Vegas compared to Fallout 3 was aiming down your sights. But I imagine when the Fallout 3 remaster comes around, this will be a built-in feature because they'll be modeling it.
Dude, that ADS gives me a migraine. I can't even look at it. Oh my God.
After Fallout 4, just like Oblivion Remaster, model itself after Skyrim. So then you look over at the FTC document. Based on this, everything we've seen that's come true from this document, and that's essentially all of it, everything here was delayed by 2 to 2.5 years. That means Fallout 3's remaster is likely a late 2026 or mid 2027 release date. Meanwhile, Nate the Hate, who accurately leaked Oblivion, said it'd actually be a while before we get to see it. And given that the Oblivion remaster got pushed into 2025 and Virtuos is likely handling this Fallout 3 remaster too, I'd throw late 2027 out there. So now bringing it all back to Fallout New Vegas, if this
Makes me wonder if they delayed it to try and coincide with like a season 3 of the show. If they're going to go to Washington, D.C. in season 3, and that's when we get the Fallout 3 remake remaster, maybe that could time out better. I think it'd time out better than trying to shove it next to the New Vegas release.
this ends up being an added on part of the plan, it's like, oh, we should do this next, which I think they should. It's like Fallout 3 is coming first because it's further down the pipeline, and that means you still need years to make it. So if, let's say, Fallout 3's remaster drops in 2027, 2029 is still a pretty like optimistic release window, if I'm honest about it.
Dude,
but this is
so
where we
sad.
get into deep cut speculation now, because that's if Fallout New Vegas remaster is ever going to be part of the plans. You have to look at it from this angle too. When Jordan Midler spit out the rumor on the FPS podcast that another Fallout game is on the way, and it's the Fallout game that you've all been asking for, no one really knows what that is. He could be thinking...
That's what I'm saying. Like, they should have asked, what do you mean by... Are you saying New Vegas too? Like, a follow-up. I don't know. It drove me crazy, dude. I love Jake. I love Skill Up. They're great dudes. But it's like, what are we doing? Ask him. Clarify. Yeah, maybe he's talking about Fallout 2 remaster. Who knows? Who knows, dude? It's just crazy. Is a Fallout 3 remake remaster confirmed to be Virtuos? I think the latest thing was that it's expected to be in-house at BGS. Make of that what you will. But I believe that that's the case. I don't think it's confirmed to be Virtuos, but I'm not 1,000% sure.
Oh, it's Fallout 5. Like, that's the one everyone wants. That's the one everyone's asking for, because the last Fallout game we got was 76, which is now in a great place, but it wasn't for a very long time, and it wasn't the Fallout game that people were really wanting at that time. So he could mean 5. But for a lot of Fallout fans, they've interpreted that as a Fallout New Vegas too. And I get why. Still, the reality is, at the heart of it all, we have no clue at all. It's a safe assumption, yes, but it's not a definite, as is the world of rumors. So to me, when I see that, it's possible you take the New Vegas remaster completely out of the equation, and Bethesda and Xbox have opted to say, well, why don't we just make a new game set in New Vegas?
That's one of my favorite quest lines ever. Setting them off in the rocket ships. I just love it. It's so good.
Or make a game set around the west coast of Fallout. Like, I feel that is the obvious move for Fallout 5, which I've already gone in depth on why I think it's going to be in San Francisco, and Bethesda's teased that pretty heavily. And also literally made sure Obsidian did not take San Francisco off the map in New Vegas because they wanted to use it as a future location. And when you look at that combined with the TV show focusing a lot on the West Coast, I do think that's the next mainline game. But
well, and the reason I suspect it's going to be in San Fran is all of that stuff he just mentioned. But also, Todd said in that interview for the season 1 launch of Fallout, the TV show, he said that when he was working with the team at Amazon Prime on the original concept and writing for the show, he had to tell them specific things not to do because they planned on doing them in Fallout 5. So I fully suspect, okay, they start the show on the West Coast. I fully suspect that they're like, oh, so we're going to transition. Maybe you travel down to San Fran or whatever. And Todd's like, don't do that. We want to do that in Fallout 5. I think that that's most likely what he was talking about when he said he had to tell them not to go places, not to do things because he's going to do it somewhere else. I think.
But I do want to just float the idea out there that just because it's obvious to us doesn't mean it's obvious to them. For example, I think a New Vegas remaster is free money, and no matter when you deliver it, you should deliver it because that would be great for fans. However, after interviewing Mark Dara and learning how EA turned down not only a Dragon Age Origins remake idea, but remasters and the Champions trilogy, I don't think these execs sometimes have a clue at all what a good money opportunity is, even if it literally slapped them in the face like that. So while, again, it's obvious to us, like, oh, it's obvious Fallout's big, they're just greenlighting Fallout 5 now, and this is years after Xbox has owned Bethesda. It's a little insane how slow-moving things have been for this franchise. Yes, the TV show has dramatically accelerated all, but it's all reactionary, which is a worrying case unto itself. I'm glad they're making moves, though.
Have they done a theme park? A Fallout theme park? No, but... see what they confirmed. Hold on. Pulling it up. Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights 2025 to feature the first ever Fallout haunted house. So at a theme park, they will be doing a Fallout haunted house. So sort of. I do plan on going and doing this, and we'll film a video about it. So don't you worry. We'll talk about it.
So yeah, I don't really think a New Vegas remaster is a guarantee, not even because it's not in the rumor mill, but just because like what rumors we do have surrounding New Vegas or New Vegas 2 have popped up multiple times more than anything involving a New Vegas remaster. And there's also the world where the Fallout 3 remaster synchronizes well with like a season 3 or 4 of the Fallout TV show that maybe makes its way to the East Coast, but that's like far-flung speculation. We'll see if we even get there yet. So what are we expecting for the TV show? Well, for starters, I know it makes sense in our brains that New Vegas show equals New Vegas game, and that should just be what happens. But remember that Fallout 76 was the biggest beneficiary of this show, as I've covered before. It's not Fallout 4, not Fallout 3, not the originals, but 76. And if you want to cut deeper than that to get to the lore aspect of it all, 76 is the polar opposite end of the timeline. Like, it has nothing that really reminds you of the TV show outside of it being the current updated Fallout product. So I can see a world where 76 focuses even harder on the TV show. Keep in mind, two things have been said. One, Bethesda has teased that whatever's coming out next for 76 is the biggest update the game has ever received. That means it's bigger than Wastelanders, and that is absolutely significant. Number two, they have already promised that they are going to have tie-in content with Season 2. What that will be is anybody's guess because we don't know how closely these teams are collaborating, but given how much money and attention 76 got, I could see a world where there was a deeper relationship there. And money talks, right? Like, if there is a time to swing hard with 76, especially with its surprise resurgence, I do think Season 2 is a great opportunity to do so. And if you look at the community calendar that just released today, you can see that at the end of December, the day after the new season of the show drops, Bethesda is doing Double Score and Gold Rush. So yeah, I think they are preparing for the influx of players. Like I said, though, in prior videos, yeah, I think 76 is going to swing extremely hard for Season 2. Otherwise, we have the leak from Juicehead, who says that Fallout 4 is going to be getting creations of some kind. Beyond that, though, it doesn't seem like there's going to be much more.
They'll get it working so you can play it after the next gen update. Well, and again, this is the thing that we just have to remember. It's frustrating for us, but we are largely in a bubble. Dare I say a large canvas bubble, okay? This is us. We're in here. There's a lot of other stuff in this room, though. There's a lot of other players out there. And in terms of numbers, in terms of raw numbers, there's a lot more people interested in like Fallout 76 updates than would be interested in a remaster of a game that was beloved from 15 years ago. Maybe it pops off to the level of the Oblivion remake, remaster, but I think that that's the question mark for Xbox executives. Is they're like, yeah, Elder Scrolls is massive, but is a spin-off game from 2010 going to do the same numbers as Oblivion, which was like one of the most successful, biggest games of all time at that point in the games industry? I personally think it does. I mean, I think New Vegas is huge, and I think there's a huge fandom for it, and I think people will come out for it. But I think that executives are questioning it because they're looking at it in that way. They're going, is it as big as Oblivion? Should we spend all this time and money? And they're just not sure about it. What the hell are you wearing, bro? Dude, a jacket for Starfield, and I'm too hot. I'm trying to make it all the way through the video, though. You can't mod Fallout 76, you're damn right. The only mods and customization stuff you can get in it, you have to be paying for, which they like a lot more. You better believe it. The big update that's expected to come to Fallout 4 is them adding creations which is their name for paid mods. That's the big update for Fallout 4 that's coming for Season 2. So just buckle up, dude. Buckle up.
Otherwise, anything else to me beyond Fallout 4 creations and a massive 76 update would be a welcome surprise. Like, for me, a welcome surprise would be, hey, we're actually going to port Fallout 1 and 2 and Tactics to consoles. I look at what happened with Icewind Dale and Planescape and the old Baldur's Gate games and how they brought these CRPGs to consoles. Like, I just want that level of porting for Fallout 1 and 2. I think that would be great. Would they sell like hotcakes? I don't know if necessarily that would be the case, but I think you get a lot of curiosity purchases. Like, hey, let me try this. Could they use some quality of life updates? Sure, but I think they could release just fine as is because the Fallout brand is a titan, and there are many people who said, I've skipped on this. Let me just give it a shot. Especially when Bethesda has shown a willingness to bring back really random FPS games like Heretic and Hexen are back. They remastered Doom on like a yearly basis. They remastered Quake. Like, why not do this for Fallout? I know Todd shut it down when I asked him about it, but also it looks like plans have dramatically changed since the TV show has kicked up and Xbox has shut down a lot of studios and started to reorganize their assets. So to me, that would be a pleasant surprise. But if you're just watching this video to try to find out, like, what should I expect? Keep your expectations there. You get Season 2, you get a big swing with 76, maybe you get some surprise creations for Fallout 4 that end up being really exciting. Otherwise, anything else to me is a bonus. That's where my head is at. We'll see what...
I agree. Of course, go sub to Maddie. He's been doing coverage like this for a very, very long time. Great dude. And honestly, I think he's right. You should keep your expectations very low because the odds of something happening are just not that high. And, you know, they say making an assumption makes an ass out of you and me. And I think that is true. You should not assume that just because we think New Vegas would be a slam dunk that the data or that the executives are seeing the same thing. I think it's pretty clear that they're seeing something that makes them think this is not as big of a slam dunk. Whether it's just because it's more expensive, maybe there's rights disputes, maybe there's other stuff. You never know. There could be all sorts of random crap preventing them from just doing what seems so obvious to us. Same with like Bloodborne 2, Bloodborne remake, remaster, whatever. It's like, it makes so much sense. Why haven't they done it yet? Well, maybe it's like I said earlier in the stream. Often with business, if something just doesn't make any sense at all, it's because you're missing a piece of the puzzle. You're missing a piece of information that explains everything and makes it make sense. And with this, I suspect there's probably some extra piece of the puzzle that we are not privy to. I still think we'll see something New Vegas related, but I think it's probably going to be much more in line with what Bethesda's been doing recently, which is like a Fallout 76 update that brings New Vegas as a map to Fallout 76. I think that that's probably what we expect. Copyrighted music would be hard too. Yeah, well, they could get a new soundtrack and stuff, but we just don't know. We just don't know. That's the tricky bit. So, good video from Maddie, and it sucks that after all of this discussion and discourse, we're just kind of like, That's just kind of where we are. That's just where we are. That's how this works, man. That's how this works. You gotta love it. Gotta love it. They're gonna add fishing to New Vegas. Oh god, the legends themselves will do it. I love it. Okay. End of segment. Cut off. You know what we got to do? We got to talk to Jor. We got to talk to Jor, the Raptor himself, about this stuff, about Gamescom. Is this the right screen? Yeah. Hold on. Please hold. Please hold. Ba 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 da da. Try to call him and talk to him about stuff. Oh yeah. Okay, maybe. Let's see. Let's see if this works. Lukeception. Yeah, that's it. Maybe like that. That looks good. Oh, is he here? He's here.
Oh my god.
Guys, he's back. He's returned to us.
Are we already live? What's going on?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
live. You're
Okay,
here.
okay,
Say hi to everybody.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Dude, he just came back from Germany. He's still there mentally.
Oh, my belly still hurts from all the bratwurst.
The Bratwurst.
Jawohl.
Is
Okay,
it
I'm
true
gonna
when you
stop.
go to Germany you have to wear lederhosen the whole time? Is that true?
No, if that was the case, then the Gamescom would look completely different.
Dude, I would kill to see everybody on the stage coming out in lederhosen. That would be great. Lederhosen. Did you go to a beer garden
as well? No. I was, I was between my people at Gamescom. No, I was there like for Tuesday evening, and then Thursday evening I left. I did go to an Aces event party. They had a huge boat. That was a lot of fun. But apart from that, I spent all my days in the small, as you might be familiar with, behind the scenes, closed doors.
The room where it happens.
The dark rooms. They actually built a chapel for the Blood of Dawnwalker, and it was like so hot in there. That was crazy. But the gameplay was very good though. But at one point I was like, and I actually came from a festival, so they dimmed the lights, and at one point I was like, it's really bad.
Dude, all those booths are always like that because people think, oh, I'm going to go to E3 and I'm going to see cool games. Yeah, but you got to remember, you're in an enclosed space within an already enclosed space, which is the show floor. They're not putting AC units in there or anything. Like, you're going and locking yourself in a room basically with a bunch of like dozens of other people. And then they have big computers and TVs and everything in there running. So it's just a sauna.
Yeah, exactly. So I really don't envy the developers who had to present there for a few days. Because that's of course the thing. They have to do the same presentation every half an hour, and it just goes on and
for
on.
days.
Days. And they have to be as excited as the first time. But no, Gamescom was great. I really got to see and play everything that I wanted to. So yeah, that's of course nice. If you've been doing this for a while, you can just show up sometimes at the reception and be like, "Yo, this is the channel. Can I play?" And
My
then,
name is Jor Raptor. I'm
you.
kind of a big deal.
And even for the Dying Light, I was like, okay, I heard there's so sometimes they have a booth for like the public, and then they first like close it till like 1 p.m. or something. So then people on an invitation can go there without having to wait in line and stuff. So for the Dying Light, I was like, okay, I did not get an appointment, so I just walked up to the reception. I was like, Jor Raptor. You're not on the list. But come on.
You're good.
That's nice. It's nice. But no, got to see and play quite some stuff that I'm excited to talk about with you. But want to do an intro first because it feels really weird to do it without an intro.
Yeah, just straight into it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Should we do that? Okay, intro. Free roam. Welcome everybody.
I mean, you were already welcome because we were already going. But how have you been? You've been chilling in the US.
Yes.
I've not been away much, or
no.
what's up?
I've been chilling. We've been doing a lot of like family stuff. So
Nice.
my son Lachlan just had his first day of preschool this morning, so he got to go off and do that. So we went and did that.
Nice.
We've been revving up for the year because we've got some stuff happening in the next handful of weeks that should be fun, and I'm excited to talk about when I'm able to. But yeah, we've just been rocking and rolling, staying nice and chill, having a good time. I do think the takeaway is next year, I think we got to do Gamescom. I think that's the thing. Every year I'm like, this is the year, and then I chicken out for one reason or another. But I think next year's the year. We'll have to do it. Do a fan meetup, all sorts of stuff. It'll be good. And Jor can
I think it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, Jor can get me into those secret rooms that are super exclusive, with all of his connections, and backroom meetings and things. It'll be great.
We're gonna get you into a Bethesda thing.
Todd just looks in the audience. What the? Yeah, just...
Todd was there, by the way, 2 years ago for the Fallout season 1 premiere. They did the one.
Oh yeah.
I think Starfield was there too, so I think they combined it. So that would be fun. I wanna have that on camera.
Dude, wouldn't that be so
yeah,
good?
I think you should. It's especially. I mean, to be fair, you of course have played a lot at Summer Game Fest already, so it is kind of a repeat in some form. I think the Crimson Desert demo was, for example, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Only now you could record everything. I'm not sure if you were able to, but I could record all my footage, so that was nice. But yeah, I mean, it's usually, of course, Summer Game Fest. That's when they announce the games, and then Gamescom they kind of let you play. But yeah, I think it's worth it just to see a lot of people. It's the European side of the industry, and yeah, it's big. There's a lot going on. I was really happy that I went, even though I usually looked at it from I don't think I can make a lot of content based on the things I will see, but I sometimes forget that we're in like our rooms all the time. We're doing this work, and it's a lot of fun. But sometimes you kind of forget that the gaming industry exists, that it's a physical thing as well. And there are
big.
just a few moments. Yeah, and yeah, that is big. And that there were 350,000 people at Gamescom, which is crazy.
Yeah, I'm putting on screen right now a clip from IGN actually walking through the show floor, just as a little background so people can see just how big it is that we're talking about. I think the numbers were something ridiculous. It was like 370,000 people.
Yeah, exactly. So, and of course, across multiple days. So Wednesday is actually nice because then the public cannot enter yet. It's only for press, media, and fans. So it's still like there are still quite some people, but you can just walk up to certain booths and they have no line, so that's nice. And then on Thursday, the public starts to get in, and Friday it gets crazier. Saturday and Sunday, you don't want to be there. But no, it's really a lot of fun. I totally recommend. It's so weird to see the Eurogamer guy for IGN, by the way, but that's just me.
He got flamed, dude, because this is the same dude. He went and tried Elden Ring on Switch 2. And he made a video for IGN saying it runs like absolute donkey ass. And it was like super blurry, couldn't hit close to 30 once he got in the open world. And dude, you would have thought that he skinned a puppy live on television. I mean, people lost their minds in the comment section. We're accusing him of being like a fake gamer and all sorts of stuff. It's pretty hardcore. Even though
But did we see the footage? Did we see if he?
They won't let you record any footage of it. No. Because it probably runs terribly.
Okay, so he was just they were just shooting the messenger basically.
Yeah. It's like, I'm warning you guys, don't buy this. It runs like crap. And they're like, how dare you?
To be fair though, I don't get people waiting for the Switch 2 version for that 3-year-old game. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I just think, there's passionate people everywhere. But maybe I got to ask you this. What was something you saw that maybe we are not aware of, being like not present, not there? Were there any like surprises? Was there anything there that you tried that really surprised you or was interesting? Any fun tidbits, anything like that?
So I did not expect 007 First Light to be there, but I sadly cannot talk about the event itself. So just expect more from that game. I did make a video regarding like what the booth looked like, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, that was surprising to me. Of course, Lego Batman was a nice surprise. I did not get to play it, but that was like the one game that was revealed and suddenly playable already, and it looks kind of like
so good,
a Spider-Man. They have like crimes now, and yeah, the combat looks of course a lot like the Arkham game. So I think they're onto something with that game, which is exciting. Apart from that, I was happy that I could play Crimson Desert for a pretty long time. I was able to do the demo 2 times, record everything, and we have let's go to the super chat here from the Nerdy Giant. So IGN posted yesterday a 30-minute gameplay video of uncut raw gameplay of Crimson Desert, and it was, well, you should check it out. But I have a few concerns now. And we like the first demo that I got to play for Crimson Desert was really focused on the boss battles and the different mechanics. And this was for the first time you got to play it too, right? Like a mission. from A to from the start till finish with a boss battle at the end. And I totally get where people are coming from now with the concern. So that was actually one of the games where I went in more hyped than I got out, but I still think there's really something special there. I think it's good that they delayed it, of course, now till early 2026. There are just some quality of life things that it really feels like the developers have been working on this game for so long that they don't see those tiny things anymore that people who never touched a controller and are picking the game up for the first time are like running up against. So I think that, yeah, I want to make a video like kind of focused on what I think they should improve before release. But yeah, should we just run down everything I saw, and you can like tune in as well and share your thoughts if you have any.
Yeah, give us the rundown.
Yes, awesome. So the game that I think it's fun to go from least exciting till the most exciting, and my number one will surprise you. Oh my god.
It's the Horizon Lego game again.
Now on Switch 2. Back it up, everyone. No, I'm not sure if you saw the Outer Worlds 2 demo they had there.
I've seen snippets of it, not the full.
Yeah. Well, so basically, so the convention opens on Wednesday, and what Xbox always does, because they have a huge booth with a ton of stuff. Silksong was there too. The line was even crazy in that early moment. So they then only, if you have an invitation, you can go on that booth and see stuff for like 2 hours before other people come in. So that's a really nice, way to get into. For example, I did not have any appointments with Capcom. Still played Animushia. Spoiler alert, that was amazing. But I also went to see the Outer Worlds 2 presentation, and that game really for me just does not have anything that I think it excels at. And it really hurts me. Yeah, it hurts to say that, because I do think their showing at the Xbox conference was pretty interesting. But I think they're really, I mean, maybe people are like just craving a type of game like that they don't mind it. But then also, for example, the Companions trailer they showed, and you cannot sleep with any of them. It's like, okay, that's like a bad thing. So why would you say, okay, romance is not in the cards? The Companions felt very robotic. The combat is certainly, like, it looks like an improvement, but there's nothing interesting about it. And the demo they showed, it did not have any peak moments. They really focused on skill checks as if they reinvented the wheel or something. I was like, okay, we've seen that before. There was nothing about it that really grabbed me, and maybe I'm not the core audience for it. The setting is also not really my cup of tea, but that was really for me, especially coming off the fact that they are, putting this like out there at first as an $80 game. Like, they are really trying to make this like their AAA holiday thing next to Call of Duty, of course, and it just did not feel like that. So I was kind of disappointed by what I saw for that. Again, the gameplay is out there, so you can check it out for yourself.
Well, I think you raised a really good point, though, which is, excuse me, that they're framing this, Xbox being they're framing this as their AAA companion for the winter season next to Call of Duty. Bear in mind, the original plan was for this to launch at $80. That's the category they're putting this in. They're putting it next to like Mario Kart World, like the biggest titles the company possibly has. They ended up walking that back. Now it's only 70, but I already thought 70 looked steep for this game. And I saw somebody in chat earlier was asking about my thoughts on Outer Worlds 2. And, you know, there's just sometimes you see a game and it just feels like a little or meh, or something's off. You know, it just doesn't click quite right. And it can be hard to put, you know, it into words until you get your hands on it. But it's kind of like when you go to a restaurant and you order a meal and it just doesn't taste quite right. I'm not a chef. I can't necessarily explain, oh, it's because you didn't julienne the peppers. Instead, you diced them, and that's why it tastes different and the texture's off or whatever. I don't know the terms or specifics, but I don't need to be a chef to know something doesn't taste right or doesn't taste good. And in this case, I just feel like it does come off being fairly generic, and it just doesn't really seem to have a really unique hook to it that feels super exciting. Like you said, they're showing cool things like, hey, we have a bunch of cool skills and abilities. Okay, a lot of games do. Oh, we have a focus on polish now. I'd hope so. Every game should. Like, I'm just failing to see the moment where this pops off. You know, we saw the first announcement trailer for Expedition 33 back in, like, was it last summer? I think it wasn't even that far back, but I think it was Summer Games Fest 2024. And it looked so good instantly. People were like, that game looks special. Just immediately, we got that vibe from that game. And this is kind of the opposite, where from the moment I've seen it, I've just been like, it looks like Outer Worlds. Like, that's not bad, but it's an Obsidian, like C+, C-, lower budget adventure RPG, which isn't bad. There's still plenty of people that will buy it and have a great time with it. I just don't view it, and I don't see it as being like on the same level as a massive AAA $70, God forbid, $80 game. It's just not quite there. And like you said it doesn't excel in anything, right? That's how you put it?
Yeah. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything that this game where I was like, oh wow, that's an interesting way to approach this design, approach this feature or have this design decision. It's playing it like relatively safe. I think the Avowed approach was way more interesting because that game was of course revealed with that 6 cinematic trailer, so we also had high expectations, but they really quickly came out and said, no, it's not like that, it's semi-open world and blah, blah. And then they kind of build on, oh, it actually looks way better and better and better. And yeah, we have a third-person mode, and yeah, this and this and this. So when I came into that game, I was actually pleasantly surprised because my expectations were kind of low. Mm-hmm. And I think for the Outer Worlds, they've been really handling this poorly. So yeah, then I do expect a bit more. I thought, okay, this is gonna be the next big RPG from them, and yeah, it's not that.
But they're selling it like it is. That's the thing, is that if it was framed as this is our like the recent Obsidian thing, it is a AA, tighter budget, tighter scope game, then I think all of this makes sense and it clicks because that's what it appears to be. But when you're trying to frame it as this is our break into full AAA development, the standards raise a lot, and I just don't see it, because they're going to charge the same amount for this as they're going to charge for the next Cyberpunk, presumably, and they're going to charge for the next, Bioshock or Judas or whatever else big budget game you want to look at. And I just don't see it being quite there. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It just doesn't look that remarkable.
Yeah, and then your trailer has bad news in it. That's also kind of weird. I looked at the Outer Worlds subreddit, and they were like, oh, them mentioning there are no romances is like a kick in the nuts to us. Like, that's what we wanted. Yeah. And they're not doing it.
It's framed in that sort of like, no, you can't romance them. Naughty, naughty. It's kind of like this, like, talking down, like, you perverts. No, you can't romance your companions. It's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with players wanting the option to do that. Like, what are we doing? It makes the whole game feel kind of like it's being made to not quite lecture, but like the way they framed it made it feel like they were talking down to their own audience, which just feels weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, that was my least exciting thing that I checked out. Moving on to two games that are kind of tight, but that I also did not get a great demo with, but that I did play. Let's start with Borderlands 4. You played, of course, more of it, and that game has been on my radar. I really played Borderlands 3 a lot, and they really seem to improve on every aspect. But one of the things that I was most interested in was the open world aspect, and the demo I got to play was the Vault. So you, in the open zones that you explore, and there are 4 of them, you find keys, and then with that, you basically get access to one of the cool vaults that has a cool boss at the end. I was just dropped into the vault with a level 20 character, had random weapons. So yeah, I saw some improvements to the combat. I like the boss fight in particular a lot, where you really have to use your grapple hook to expose weak points from the enemy, so then you shoot there. There's a second phase where the boss like climbs on the ceiling, and then you have to use your grapple hook to go from point to point and still shoot the boss. So I totally see the appeal. I think the demo was not that exciting because the Vault, apart from the boss fight, is just go here, kill all enemies. Oh, a jump pad opens up. Boink, kill more enemies. So it wasn't that exciting, but I'm still looking forward to the game. I'm not sure if you can. Yeah, you of course played more of it, but yeah.
So this vault that you guys are seeing footage of right here, I believe is the one that Jor is also talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the one I played as well back in, I think it was May. I think this whole year is a blur, I think. But I also played a good chunk of the open world. The vault was technically like a secondary thing we did after our primary demo.
Yeah, cool.
And for me, like the mechanics are really rock solid. The systems, the loot, all of that stuff seems really, really well done, which you would expect. I mean, they know what they're doing there. There's no question about it. They've done this many times before, and you know, it's good to see that they are just taking it up a notch with these bigger, more elaborate sequences. What I really liked about the open world, though, and I mentioned this in my video I made on it, was that at one point I was just exploring around a corner of the map, trying to basically cut a corner and bypass a big hill or mountain that was in my way to get around to the objective I was going to. And by going all the way around to the edge of this cliff, I ended up stumbling upon an optional boss fight against this big spider monster. And it was like a full, unique boss fight that I could have completely missed and avoided, but because I just happened to go that route, I found it. And I was like, that's what I would hope to see, like unique, interesting stuff to be found in the open world that, of course, once you complete it, you get benefits like whether it's weapon drops or whatever.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest questions people have with Borderlands 4 specifically is whether they're going to shake the tonal screw-ups of Borderlands 3, which was trying really hard to be witty and funny and topical and have all of these memes from when they were making the game, which means the memes are already out of date by the time the game comes out. And it just was kind of cringe, and most of the jokes didn't land. But this time around, they said specifically they're not going that route. They're trying to keep all of the humor tied within the universe, within the world. They said, you know, they don't want... Of course, they don't want to badmouth their own game. But what was basically said was, we understand the criticism, and we are making sure that we don't go that route, and we give people what they're hoping for. And I'm glad to see it. So this one also, I think, is shaping up to be something pretty solid. It's more Borderlands for sure, but I think for a lot of people that's exciting. These, like, Borderlands is another huge franchise that people kind of sleep on if you're not in that community. But Borderlands is big.
Yeah, and the last one came out in 2019. Obviously, they still supported Borderlands 3 for a long time, but it has also been a while. So, like, they're not, like, pumping these out every year. So, yeah, I get why people are excited, and I really hope they stick the landing. And at least the movement mechanics that I did get to try, I was like, okay, if more bosses have unique segments and abilities like this that you have to counter in unique ways, could be cool. So, yeah, keeping that on my radar. The other game I got to play, but only for like 15 minutes because it was a short demo, was Dying Light the Beast. And I hate the new release date because it's a week after Borderlands 4 and 3 days after the Claws of Awaji Shadows DLC. And yeah, maybe people are like, why are you going to play that? Well,
no sleep for Jor.
No. It's going to be a crazy time. I even I just finished New Game Plus for Shadows, so played it through a second time.
Oh, trooper.
I finally have the gold katana now, Luke. Look at me now.
I always knew you were better than me. Now it's confirmed. It's locked in.
Real quick side note. So what they did is in Assassin's Creed Shadows, you can use the throwing knife like the kunai and then pick up the blade after killing an enemy. But they removed that because what they saw, like I figured out a build where you could just throw and then instantly get all your tools back. So they removed that, and now the New Game Plus reward is throw a tool and get it back.
That's fine.
150 mon.
Was it like a build where you recover it if it's a stealth kill or something? So
no, just a kill. It doesn't even matter if it was a stealth kill. Yeah. It's like a 50% chance, but so you would throw your kunai, 50% chance to get it back, but then you could still walk over the enemy to get it back as well. So you basically had an unlimited amount of tools. They nerfed that to the ground. It's now 10% chance, basically nothing, and you cannot retrieve the kunai from the body anymore on a higher difficulty. But hey,
interesting.
If you finish New Game Plus, they give you an item. That's I hate it when they do that, when they take something away and then bring it back.
They're like, did you see the new Jor Raptor video? They're like, yep, already nerfed it. Yep. Took care of it this morning.
People sometimes get angry at me, like, why did you make a video on this? Now they're gonna nerf it. I'm like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, pretend like it's not there. Yeah, I will say they've been, and you know, people meme on AC all the time. I get it, it's funny. But also, you got to give credit where it's due. And credit where it's due, they have like directly responded to multiple points of criticism and critique that I offered at launch, like the difficulty options, for example. They did other things like overhauls to some of the stealth stuff, the parkour stuff. They've added new moves and abilities there. Like they've actually gone through and tweaked a good amount of stuff, which is awesome to see. I mean, actually listening to players and working on it. Love to see that. I'm interested to see how it evolves.
That parkour stuff that was already in previous games would be nice in the newer games too. But hey, they're slowly learning, and it's always what the thing is with Assassin's Creed. It's such a huge franchise. There are so many developers working on it that they really have to figure out some sort of communication, because things that are happening for the previous games sometimes, like Mirage, already put in a lot of things that that the Shadows team did not know because they were focused on finishing up their game. So yeah.
Well, I think that's what Anvil Next, or whatever they call it, is supposed to fix, is that like if you have a tool that you built for Shadows, you can, very simplified, but you can basically copy and paste it over to the new game, so you don't end up with the most egregious example I can think of is AC Odyssey had that really good cinematic camera when you're in like side quest conversations and stuff, and it looks really, really good with custom cinematic camera angles. But they're all dynamic for every conversation in the game. And then Valhalla comes out after that, and it's back to like rotating camera around a central pivot, and it's like not cinematic at all except for specific cinematic cutscenes. It was like such a huge step backwards. But it's because they're two separate teams working at different times, and it's just annoying.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Shifting forward,
Dying Light.
Going back to Dying Light, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I played a lot of Dying Light 2, and it feels like, Dying Light 2, after all the updates, they of course added a lot of stuff to that game after launch as well. And this was first a Dying Light DLC, so similar to Mirage, basically. That first was a Valhalla DLC that turned it into a full game. I think the world in particular is very cool. That was the biggest differentiating factor for me, because it took some time to pick up the controls again, because they have the jump button on R1 and stuff. It's kind of like, okay, what's happening again? But then after that, you pick it up and you're like, okay, I've kind of played this game before, but I do like that it's way more overgrown. It's way more like nature-based, the city, instead of the very urban environments that we saw in Dying Light 2. I got to play with the flamethrower. It just feels great to play. I think it's really gonna be. I love Kyle Crane. I love Dying Light 1 in terms of story. That really, really surprised me. That had no right to be that good. So bringing him back, hopefully they can, do something fun with that character. Yeah, the only thing is for me the release date. It's like it was supposed to come out last week. That would have been perfect, but now it's September 19th, and I hope they can. I mean, there is a core audience, but Dying Light 2 really was really great because it was early February before Forbidden West and Elden Ring, and the first Dying Light came out in January 2016, when January was not really fully explored by the publishers yet.
Yeah.
So they had like really, really great release timings, and I feel for the Beast there. I mean, the Silk Song, man. September 4th, on the same day as Hell Is Us and all these other games, and this week we have 4 other Lost Solid Side, Gears of War Reloaded. You got Metal Gear Solid Delta. There's so many games coming out, and then Silk Song is like, screw you guys, we're coming out as well.
There.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, what's after that? What's after Dying Light?
For me, it's Crimson Desert that we already kind of touched on. Yeah. But so the main demo that we got to play was like a huge siege battle. So first, I think IGN put up the gameplay, at least snippets of it as well. So first, you kind of prepare for this huge siege battle, and the game you immediately see kind of the production value that this game has. There's a lot going on. It's a very interesting new world. There are, next to humans, also big trolls, and I'm like, what is this kind of world? So I'm already intrigued by that. It just looks beautiful. And yeah, you see the scope of it immediately. You immediately see very far in the distance mountains and other castles that you're like, okay, I want to go there too. I, for the first time, was able to go on a mount and kind of ride around. But I do feel that they're maybe doing a bit too much, and that is kind of where my concerns are coming from. Where you had this huge siege battle, and everyone is fighting, but then there are also very much moments where two enemies are just standing in front of each other and they're waiting for each other to hit them, and you kind of get taken out of the experience. Another thing, kind of tiny things, but because the world looks so very real, not realistic, but like you kind of want to be immersed in this, having the enemies constantly say, "Huh, I thought you were better than this. Huh, is this all you got?" It feels like you're in a wrestling match and not on a siege battle. Like, this should be a battle for life and death, and they're like taunting you after you like throw them away with a sort of wrestling move, and they're like, "Huh, is that all you got? Oh, weakling!" And I'm like, what is happening in this? Why is the dialogue so out of place for what we're experiencing here? Another thing is there were like developers walking around, and one guy, like one of the QA leads or whatever, he had like a controller, of basically holding a controller, because he was going to explain the button combinations every time, and it was way easier to do that on his controller, that I could like look to the side instead of him picking up my controller. The fact that he has to do that, and that he was like, "Oh yeah, you just do a triangle, circle, and then R1, and then you spin the ring around, and then you do R2, and I'm like, what is this for fighting game combo that I'm trying to learn here? It's really, really complicated, and I'm kind of like, I think it's gonna be very cool to get this game and be immersed if you're into it, and like constantly figure out tiny new moves and stuff you can do. But I kind of worry that they're making things too complicated for people who look at this game and just want a fun action adventure open world game, because yeah, I think there's just maybe too much going on. They also at one point had a cannon that was broken, and then they teach you that with like the focus mode. So you have a focus mode, you press like the analog sticks, go into the focus mode, and they have a tiny dot that you then have to put on the wheel, and then in the bottom right, like very small, it says lift, but only when you correctly point the dot at the thing where you can lift it. So I was like moving it around, what's going on? Then the guy was like, "Oh yeah, you have to do it like this." Okay. So then you move it, and then you fix the cannon, and the guy's like, "Oh, thank you." Then in the boss battle, so they expect you, because you've done the lifting before, in the boss battle, you have this like knight who constantly attacks you, but at one point you break his defense and he's like down. And there are these pillars on the ground. Then you have to think by yourself, hey, but there's no glow around the pillars. There's no indication that
there's no yellow paint or anything. It's just
like maybe not that crazy, but I do feel, and maybe I'm just too modernized and ruined by all these games, but I do feel, because if you don't grab that pillar and smack the boss, it's gonna be a long fight. So they kind of expect you to come up with a very crucial look. If it's like an extra trap that you can trigger once or twice during the fight, sure. But if it's such a crucial part of the boss battle that does not feel really explained, I'm like, I just worry that they might be going a little overboard with that, with having the player come up with stuff. But again, it might also be that we're thrown into the middle of the game. Maybe before this you had lifted up many things, so you're like, okay, this is probably what I have to do. But I felt like, yeah, I do think this game could use a lot of UI and quality of life improvements to make it a bit more, sometimes less frustrating and a bit more enjoyable overall. But I'm curious what you thought, because you played it, of course, as well.
Yeah. So I played it at Summer Games Fest, and I will say it's funny to hear that now that you've played it a month or two after I did at Summer Games Fest, that now they have a guy walking around with a controller to show like button combinations and stuff on the controller. Because what happened to me was that I got to this boss fight, and Jor's right, there is this moment, you can see it on screen now if you're watching, where you pick up the pillar and you're supposed to slam it down on the boss to deal the massive damage. And the way you do that, like he said, there's a specific button combination that you need to do. In this case, you can see when you highlight onto the item, you're prompted to pick it up. And then there's another button, I believe it's R1, to slam it down. It freezes on screen here for just a moment because the person playing this, it seems like, had done this fight a few times before. But you pick it up and you slam it down. That's the idea, on top of the boss. And it makes sense. You're fighting a boss, you smash him, and then you deal the damage to move on. But what happened to me is when I was doing this, the person that was sitting next to me, she was very sweet, but she got the buttons mixed up. So she was telling me, I believe it was L1. It's actually R1. So we went through like 3 cycles of this boss where I would get him knocked down. He goes on all fours. So you have a chance to smash him with the column. And I would pick up the column and she's like, okay, now L1. I would press L1. And of course it didn't slam it down on his head because that's not the right button. And so we went through like 3 times before I was like, I'm going to try my own thing. I'm going to try doing it differently. And I pressed R1 and it slams. I was like, oh, okay. They were starting to freak out thinking, I'm assuming they thought it was maybe a bug or something that I had accidentally uncovered. But no, it was just that the buttons were mixed up when they were explaining it. So now they fixed that by having somebody walk around and physically show you which buttons it is, which is kind of funny. Problem averted. But I talked about this when we looked at this gameplay segment earlier in the week on stream, because I do think that this is an important point, and you are not the first or the last person to bring this up, absolutely, which is that the controls are so complicated they need to have somebody walking around showing you how to do it, because it can be so convoluted and confusing. And that is absolutely true. It is very complicated. There's a lot going on here. The important thing I think it's crucial to bring up is just that that's true of a lot of games. This is a later game segment, probably I think like 70% of the way through it. And the example I gave in my recent video on this was, if you play Ghost of Tsushima and you try to play the ending of that game, having never picked it up before or tried the game, and you're fighting waves of enemies and you're like, wait, what do you mean I need to swap stances based on what shields or weapons they're holding? Wait, okay, so that's R2 and then X. Wait, what am I doing? It's going to be very intimidating and frustrating because you don't have the muscle memory. Whereas by the time you reach this point in Crimson Desert, you probably have really good muscle memory for what you need to do. Which
I would argue that it's a bit different.
Okay.
Because what we also saw is you have the tool menu, or basically, yeah, they now switched it up. So first it was just one big item wheel, but now they switched it up. The powers and the weapons are different. And we only had 2 of the, I think, 8 available powers or something. And then you also have elements that you can switch between. And then you also have different weapons that you can switch between. And I think that we might be in a later game section, but we have far from everything unlocked that this game has. And again, I think that's exciting. There's gonna be a lot of depth, but I do worry that they might be shooting themselves a bit in the foot here with the things they want to do. Another point I want to make, and you probably noticed this too, they gave you 100 potions, so you could not die basically. And I feel that we just have not, and it's going to be, and I really hope they do this, have a sit down with the opening of the game with the first 5 hours. I want to see how I'm feeling when I do that, and I don't want anyone telling me what to do or something like that. For a section like this, that's helpful. But for example, the boss, it's crazy how aggressive this boss is. And I'm not sure if you see that really well in the IGN gameplay, because it seemed like the person playing actually knew what they were doing. But what would happen for a lot of people is this boss would just come to you, smash you, and you would be flying around and you're like, what the heck? And then you would use one of the 100 potions. But what is the potion amount you currently have going to be? So it might be that, okay, normally you have 5, and I'm kind of missing a a very obvious, okay, now I have to block, now I have to parry, because I was, for that reason, just dodging around. There are many particles flying around. There's no clear red glowing effect. Okay, that I have to dodge, that I have to parry. And I just figured out an ability with a heavy axe where I could constantly press R2. I would just spin around, the boss would be stun locked, then I would grab the pillar and put it like on his head. Then I would do the same thing over and over again. And a game that I, for example, want to touch on a little later, Animushia, comparing those combat systems is night and day. And Crimson Desert is not going for that, but then having this sort of 1v1 boss fight where it really feels like there's no time to react, and I'm really curious how it's going to be if I don't have an unlimited amount of health. Yeah, the reason why they're giving you the 100 healths is probably because they know if they don't give that, you're constantly dying, which might not be a fun experience.
Probably in the context of a preview, yeah, with somebody that's not familiar with the controls. I mean, with my experience with the game, from what I recall, I didn't have anybody explaining to me what we needed to do with the pillars. It just kind of made sense because the pillars are just laying there, he drops. So I kind of put 2 and 2 together, but I could see how that could be confusing for some. Or you might take a cycle of the boss before you figure it out. But I personally like that because I like figuring that out when I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? And then you realize and you feel super smart because like, oh, they didn't have to hold my hand to do it. I just figured it out. That's cool. But I do think you raised an important point that this is not a game that's trying to be whatever term you want to say. Like, it's not trying to be, I saw somebody in chat say casual friendly. It's not trying to be like a Souls-like game where it's got, clear parries or telegraphed attacks with the glowing red. So you have to dodge that one versus flashing yellow, which means you can parry. It's not that kind of game. They're not trying to do that. And certainly if people go into it expecting that, they're going to probably be surprised because it's just not that. But I think that that's part of the reason I'm excited for Crimson Desert is because it seems like it has a higher skill floor, like barrier to entry than a lot of games, but it also has an incredibly high skill ceiling. So it may be too difficult to figure out for some where they try it and they just can't get it down. And will be unfortunate, I'm sure. But I think the people that click with it are gonna find that they can spend 100 hours and still figuring out new ways to combine this effect with this thing to get this effect in combat. So I do think it'll be polarizing that way. Like, I think that the joke about like journalist difficulty, and probably we're gonna see like IGN complaining that it was too frustrating to get through boss fights and stuff. I'm sure we'll see that type of thing. It's funny, I pulled up this video you mentioned earlier, which is the 30 minutes of gameplay from IGN 2 days ago. And the top comments are, did you guys just grab a random person off the street to play this demo? The gameplay looks like it's coming from someone who just learned to hold a controller for the first time. I bet this demo is being played by the same IGN reviewer who couldn't beat the Cuphead tutorial. And I think that it's one of those games where if anybody picks up the controller for the first time and tries to play a game demo like this, they will look like a noob because it's so complicated and tricky. I'm hoping, and this is just hope because we don't know for sure, like Jor, I think 5 hours of the first 5 hours, could be helpful for people to see. If they did a demo or a preview like KCD2 did, where they bring a few people out, just said, play the first 7 hours, have fun. That I think would go a long way, because onboarding and muscle memory and all of that is still very much in question because it is extremely overwhelming as it is. There's a lot going on, which is one of the reasons it's exciting. But if it's not explained or players aren't onboarded super well, it's just going to be like, okay, before you start playing, you need to look up 5 guides and understand these walkthroughs, and then you can start playing. And some people love that, but I think not as many would be thrilled about that than if they had a good tutorial system and stuff like that.
I think you nailed it with the high barrier to entry, but also high ceiling. And I think I think people who will love this game will really, really love it. And that there will be some people who looked at the gameplay trailers because they saw you flying a dragon and all this sort of stuff, and they're like, I want to play this, and then they might be like, okay, it's maybe not for me. But I do think a lot of the things that we're talking about, I also had some navigation issues sometimes where you have this huge sort of open battlefield. It was kind of unclear what I had to do, where I had to go. So I do think, but those are things that I think can fix and can improve more so than the core gameplay is great, and what the world they have is really, really appealing. A tiny thing, and that I know like open world lovers will love this too. You can, if you ride on your horse and press down on the D-pad, your horse will lie down and you will just pet it, and like tiny details like that. This game will have many of that, and I really think we will, after it comes out, for many weeks and maybe months, hear about things that, oh wow, did you know you could do that, or did you know that you could combine these two abilities? And so yeah, I'm excited for it, but this demo did, for the first time, it just kind of showed me, okay, I do think there are still things that that they could improve.
It is not, I think the biggest takeaway from the demo for me is that it is unapologetically complicated, and I'm not even sure if it's difficult. I just think it's very overwhelming because so much is going on. It's very much an MMO, but in a single player package. And for some people, that's exactly what they want. And for others, it's going to be like, I don't know what to do. I want to parry with L1, do a light attack with R1, heavy attack with R2, and that's it. And that's just not what this game is. You know, it's not a Soulsborne, and it's not trying to be, which I find kind of refreshing, but I can understand why some people might not like that.
And one interesting thing, so I played the old demo that they had, I think, last year, and they already improved things from that a year later. So they are constantly improving and doing things. So I'm hopeful that they will look at the feedback. And because I do think this game can be way bigger if they maybe have a more gamer friendly mode for people who just want to explore this world without all the crazy things. But hey,
funnily enough, did you get overwhelmed, and then we can move on, did you get overwhelmed with the particle effects? Did you wish there was maybe a toggle to turn that down, or were you fine with them?
So yeah, like I think on one end, for some of the elemental abilities, they look very exciting because you have electricity, you have ice and fire, and it looks awesome. But I do feel for a boss fight where I do want to kind of read my opponent, it was kind of getting hard without, with all these colors flying around. So
yeah, it's actually one of the most interesting pieces of feedback, because you don't often hear people asking for less visual like treats and goodies, but like every single attack, I'll try to pause it on one of these big ones, but every single attack has this crazy amount of flare of like red sparks and green sparks. And like Jor said, when you're trying to read your opponent, having all of these pop up, it just kind of like, it literally, what is going on here? Like what, it's tough to read when so much is going on. So I think that, if they could add a toggle to maybe turn off combat particle effects, that I think could really give people what they're looking for and help it. This particular footage makes it look way more problematic than it actually is, because shocker, IGN's terrible at encoding videos, and this is another example of that. What is this, mom and dad? Oh, it's goo. Nope, it's a rock. They just don't know how to encode a video. So it looks worse than it actually is because IGN is incompetent when it comes to encoding video. But in practice, it's still also overwhelming because it's just so many. So it's worth pointing out.
But like credit to them for coming to every show with a gameplay demo so that they can hear feedback and incorporate hopefully this stuff. And but I hope they launch with this feedback instead of it being something that the reviews have to tell them and then they fix it afterwards. But
to their credit, it's been years of receiving feedback, and they are making improvements. I remember one of the first pieces of feedback they had was about camera controls, and they, in a new build, had a bunch of fixes for that with a separate like combat lock on and a camera lock on. They're two separate things, which also, speaking of tutorials, could be important to clarify. But
100%. Like speaking of, and that's a game that I want to touch on in a moment, but a game that has already incorporated a lot of feedback as well is Blood of the Dawnwalker. I was really impressed with what they were telling, because they of course revealed the gameplay, I think, at Summer Game Fest at the end of June. And the Gamescom demo they showed already had a lot of, they said, oh, people did not like where the camera was. We gave you 2 options now, so you can be further away from the character, etc., etc. So That is, but I want to talk about Phantom Blade Zero too. So we're now in the top 3.
Okay.
Phantom Blade Zero, yeah, that was another. This is a 1-hour demo you could play for 1 hour, pretty crazy. This was also what they were showing at a China event that Dennis, for me, actually went to. And
I almost went to it too. I had a family thing pop up.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I almost went to that. I felt so bad. They invited me, got everything set up, and then at the last minute we had a family emergency, so I didn't get to go. But yeah, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on Phantom Blade Zero, because this is also one that I think, I don't even know if people are sleeping on it, because people are interested in it, talking about it. But seriously, I don't think enough people are talking about it.
I think it's doing pretty well for itself already. But what we're showing here is new gameplay they showed at Gamescom, but that is not what I played. So they have, I think, another gameplay session. I'm not sure who posted it, but basically what I got to play is an optional level, it seems. And I think what they also said during that China event is that all the moves are motion captured. So every attack they do is motion capture from like Kung Fu Masters and all that sort of stuff, right? They really are taking it to the next level. And a really cool detail is that you only have 3 weapon types. You have like dual blades, big swords, and a regular like katana. And every weapon has a unique finisher. There are like 30 plus unique weapons in these 3 categories. They all have unique finishers, a unique ability. They all play quite different. So I had like quite some that I could like use during my session. And every time I was figuring things out, okay, the attack speed is way better on this one. Okay, now I'm fighting a slower enemy. Let's switch it up. There was one boss in the demo as well, or actually 2, but one like mini boss, and he was like really slow. So I was like trying different weapons, and what I really like about this game is, compared to a Crimson Desert, you have way more control over how the fight is going to go and how your move is going to impact the enemy. It's a bit slower paced as well, and it just works so well. It like, this game makes you feel like a sort of superhero, super fighter, while still being challenging. Like you still have to look out for enemies. Sometimes at one point there was an enemy who would revive the other, so I was like, what's going on? Okay, I have to focus on this enemy first. So they have cool things like that. You really have to play this, because this kind of looks like, and all the trailers have always looked like, is this real? And it is. And you're playing it, and you instantly pick this up. It's not hard at all. But you constantly do figure out new moves. You can mid-combo switch between the different weapons. There's really a lot going on. You have these tools as well with the flamethrower. So you have your ranged abilities basically too. Bosses drop weapons and tools, so you're constantly upgrading your character. What I really like is that it's not very punishing. If you die, you just respawn at a checkpoint. You go about your business. There's no like XP that you lose. There is no XP in this game. Enemies don't respawn when you rest at a shrine, or they call it a checkpoint. It's basically you could describe it as a Soulslike in terms of level design. That was my only sort of gripe with it. I thought the level design was really old school. It was really, okay, one linear path. Oh, there's a side path. You kind of get the idea, because there's a map for this level as well, that it's pretty big. But then you very quickly notice, okay, it's just one linear path. There's a side path. You go there, you hit a wall very quickly, or it's like, oh, you need to get a tool for this that you don't have yet, so you go back. So that was my only thing, where it's like, they give you a set. I wish it was more like Wukong, where the levels were a bit bigger, but maybe we see that in other parts. But no, I'm really impressed by this game, and I think it will deliver. They will announce the release date at the end of the year, so I hope we hear more then. But yeah, it's exciting.
I also want to give them credit. This is one of the rare occasions where we're seeing a game that is steadily looking more and more sharp and high fidelity as time goes by. A lot of games, the initial reveal looks super sharp, and then as it gets closer to launch, they have to walk it back, and it gets blurrier and blurrier as they start lowering the resolution, doing upscaling and stuff to hit frame rate targets, and just happens a lot. But in this game, I played it at Summer Games Fest last year, and it was good. I was thoroughly impressed by it. But it looked like it was maybe running internally at like, I don't know, something a bit above 1080p, maybe as high as 1440, and then upscaled or stretched or something. But what we're seeing now is across the board way sharper. They have better cloth physics. They have better like everything. And again, like Jor said, you can actually play it. Like, this is real. This is not a question of whether it's real. They're playing it on PS5 hardware in most of the demos that I've seen. Yeah. And it's actually real. They've actually done it. So I do think this is going to be really good. I do think it's important, once again, to distinguish, like Jor did. There are points which are perhaps inspired loosely by Soulsborne games, but this is not one of those R1, R2 games with a quick parry on L1. This is a game based on combos. Even something like you'll see while he's fighting, there's the orange bar in the bottom left. That's basically like your stamina. I forget, they call it like key or something. Yeah. But when you swap weapons, that completely refills. So there's this whole subsystem where when you're in a boss fight, part of the strategy is to swap between weapons at certain points in the combo to refill the stamina and let the stamina refill on the other weapon, then swap back and do the finisher on the combo with that other weapon. And I saw one of the game developers play through on the like crazy whatever boss. I forget which one, his name is, but seeing him play at a crazy high level was ridiculous. This is another one, like Jor said, it's easy to pick up because it's fairly intuitive that, okay, I string these together this way, I string those attacks together this way, dodge, parry, all of that. But it's tough to master. Like the guys that are going to be good at this doing speed runs and stuff will break your brain because there's a lot of nuance and depth here. So I agree. This is one to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, it was all running on the base PS5. They had them like showcased on the show floor, and yeah, it ran really, really good. But again, I think it's really the combat and the moves and the boss fight. It was the sort of marionette type boss that we got to play, which was very interesting. And they are hinting at fun things. So at one point you will fight the Red Wraith. And you can like skip this boss, but then that boss will show up at the final boss fight. If you already killed it before, though, you will have an easier final boss fight. So they are toying around with interesting things like this. Wukong did this most recently too. So I hope there are more of these types of secrets. I think that will really elevate this game from a really great action combat game to a super special game with, oh, did you figure this out? Did you figure this out? I've not seen that yet, but the core is so good. And
the thing that's like really hard to get right, which is the combat, they seem to have gotten right. So
yeah,
they did the hard part. Now it's just putting it all together. All right, so what's number 2? Because you said this was number 3.
Yeah, the Blood of Dawnwalker. I was really surprised by that game. So they basically showcased the gameplay that we've already seen, but extended it. They also, during I think the Future Game Show or one other like sort of Gamescom show, highlighted some of the new footage. But this is of course the game from the Witcher 3. Veterans who worked on The Witcher 3, they're now starting a new studio, Rebel Wolves, and with Bandai Namco, they're publishing this game. And the like what I said about Outer Worlds not having a interesting, this game, like the core of this game is already very interesting because you basically have 2 different characters. It's the same character, but during the night you have these vampiric powers, so you can basically blink from rooftop to rooftop. You can walk alongside walls. Basically, you can reach a lot of points in the game that you otherwise cannot. And during day, you're just this more average guy with a sword who can still do kind of magic, kind of like Geralt. And yeah, you can choose to tackle the missions in this game how you want. So they have and I think, of course, we kind of hear about it, or we have been kind of speculating about it for Far Cry, but they also have for the new Far Cry 7, they also have this new mechanic where basically at the start you want to save your family and you have days, and you can, they say, already go to that main quest objective really soon, but then you're of course not really powered up. But basically, by exploring the world, the time will not move forward. But the moment you do a quest step, there will be a sort of 1 or a 2. So every day has basically 8 bars. And then when you do a certain quest step, it moves forward 1 bar or 2 bars. And then, yeah, when it gets night, you switch powers. But that does mean, on paper, that you can explore this open world as a vampire as much as you want, as long as you don't do the important quest steps or whatever to advance the time. So I think this game will already, while it does look like it doesn't have the AAA budget, you do see that. I think the gameplay already looked way better than what they showed at Summer Game Fest. But because you can approach this world in a very interesting way, it already made me think, okay, is this like mission, this boss fight, or should I do it during night with these vampire powers that I like, or should I come back when it's daytime so I can use my magic abilities? Or, okay, I see this chest over there on the roof, I cannot reach it now, I will come back when it's night and then get it. And I think that you will really think about the open world in such an interesting way. So they basically showed the same mission in 2 ways you can do them. They would still end at the same spot. But yeah, during day, you're more talking to people. There are dialogue choices. You're kind of it's more like a murder mystery in a way. Like, okay, someone was missing. Can you look for them? Okay, they turn out to be people turn into vampires in this game, but something went wrong. So you fight this boss, and then you go back to this guy. I found him, but he's dead. Okay, now thanks for helping me. You can go here. As a vampire, you're just like completely skipping that step. You're basically figuring clues out yourself because you can reach locations that are otherwise locked off during day. So I thought that was a great showcase of what they could do with this. And they really seem to say, we're not making an enormous game, but basically all the content that we put in the game can be done in 2 different ways. And I really hope that if they deliver on that, it's at least going to be a very interesting new way to experience an open world game like this. So I'm pretty intrigued by it.
Yeah. No, and I mean, the gameplay does look significantly more polished up than even what we saw a couple months back. I mean, they're making leaps and strides. I think obviously if people go into it expecting it to be like, quadruple A budgets, they'll be, they probably let down, but that's not what they're trying to do here. And I think anybody that's looking at it fairly will understand that and be like, okay, this is something new. This is something fresh from a fresh team. And even considering that, I think it looks a lot better than many games we get nowadays, even on a AAA budget. So, but it brings me back to what you said at the top, which is that the core idea, the concept here is exciting and interesting. And that's not true of a lot of games. A lot of games are greenlit on like a very basic premise, something very lackluster and underwhelming. And it's just like, generic sci-fi RPG, generic fantasy RPG. This has a really unique hook to it that maybe frustrates some, the specific time limits and stuff. I understand some people don't really like that idea, and that's totally fine. It won't be for everybody. But as we've seen in years past, when you try to make a game for everybody, you often end up making a game for no one. It's much better to make a game that's unique and different and niche and do that really well than to try and do everything for everybody all at the same time. And so I'm excited to see how this comes together. This is also one I'm excited to check out and follow.
Yeah, for sure. Like the Gamescom was a lot like 2026. It's gonna be an insane year. I feel like we say that every year for the year afterwards, but
yeah, dude.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna be insane. And with GTA kind of putting this middle spot, you would think that, I think a lot of the games we saw at Gamescom are gonna be before GTA 6. So otherwise, why would you be at Gamescom now, right? Why not next year? So it's gonna be a very, very front-loaded year next year. It's gonna be wild.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Sony might just be chilling in the back half of the year with some of their stuff, because they should have some bigger stuff for next year as well. Like Marathon.
If GTA doesn't get delayed, I do think. Yeah, Marathon should be before GTA though.
Yeah, I think it's probably like January, February or something. But okay, well, what's number one? Let's wrap this up. What's your number one most impressed?
So again, like I said, I was at the Xbox booth. I looked around. I just came out of the Outer Worlds 2 presentation. I saw Borderlands 4. I was like, okay, let's try that out. And then I walked out of the Borderlands 4 area, and I saw this game called Animushia, Way of the Sword. And I was like, okay, why not? We actually made a video on the remastered, the second game that they recently did. I was like, okay, let's just do it. And I picked up the controller. It was a pretty short demo, but that game really showcased, like, it really felt amazing to play. And I love how in this game you immediately understand. And this might sound a bit crazy, but the math behind the attacks. So, for example, you have so it's pretty linear, but you have an enemy in front of you, and you know, okay, this is the ranged enemy. If I do 2 light attacks, I will get them on their knees. I can finish them off. And you're kind of like dancing. You're constantly knowing, okay, heavy attack, light attack, bomb, then I finish them off. And it always made sense. It was super, super satisfying. I tried things, they immediately worked. Like, they shoot an arrow at me, I parried the arrow, and I was like, okay, this all works. You constantly have to, I think that's just a small little thing, but it's a nice addition. So when you take out an enemy in Animushia, you have to get their souls, basically. So you're constantly killing an enemy, and then you fill up your gauntlet, and then you continue. So yeah, it kind of like every encounter, finishing that feels rewarding. Or you can choose to get the souls before taking out the enemy, so that if you die, you at least have some extra currency. There were really weird enemies. You could use the environment in fun ways. You have the cart that you could like push. I have like there's like a video with some of the gameplay. I'm not sure what you're showing right now. Let me see. Oh, should I share?
There we go. Is it this one, the boss against Sasaki?
It's the.
This is from IGN's hands-on preview.
But if you do this one, you see more of the full gameplay.
Okay.
They mentioned Sekiro as well. It really is kind of like Sekiro, and there have not been a lot of games like it, where, again, it's really slowed down. You're constantly like, okay, who's gonna attack me next? Okay, you're that type of enemy. That's a parry. Heavy attack, down. Okay, you're that type of enemy. So I only played this game for 5 minutes, and I was already feeling like I was mastering something. It was pretty simple, and that's why it worked. And then they also have a boss fight that was challenging, but because you could the parry windows are very clear. It felt like, comparing this to Crimson Desert, I was like, okay, it can also be done like this. And having that type of control, I do like that a bit more. Again, it was a very short demo. We have to see how it continues. But there were already things that were intriguing me. You were running around, you saw these ghosts, and you're like, what is going on here? You have this gauntlet, like, what's going on with that? I hope it doesn't talk, but...
Yeah, it's gonna start. No. You don't get it, Jor. It's witty. It's charming. Yeah, it's interesting, because this is the same demo that we saw at Summer Games Fest, but it was hands off. So they had a producer playing it. But, we didn't get to put our hands on it. They did it. And it's I think in terms of structure and format, it's probably going to come off like a maybe less open-ended as Sekiro, because Sekiro did have some pretty wide open levels. As far as I can tell, this is going to be much tighter, more linear. They did say, I think in our preview, that there are going to be points where it'll open up a bit. Whether that means just bigger levels or, multiple corridors for you to run through and explore, I don't know. But I do think that the combat looked really, really tight. And I do think that there is certainly a big audience for these types of games that fit into what I think a lot of people expect. People meme about like the Soulsborne meta, how everybody's doing it nowadays. You make a Soulsborne game, or you make a Sekiro-like game with a basic parry system. But it's because people like that combat system. People connect with it, Who knows? Maybe in 5 years, everything will be, is it another Crimson Desert-like combat system? Maybe we'll be saying that. We don't know. But
but I think that they did a great job at modernizing the Animushia gameplay, because in that game it's really focused on the instant sort of arenas you go to. Every time you have a small loading screen and then you move into a new arena, you fight some new enemies, and everything kind of feels like a puzzle. And even though this game does not have those loading screens, it did feel like that. It's always, okay, now the ranged enemies are there and we have 2 enemies on the ground. Okay, now they combine these 2 enemies, and then it doesn't sound that like new or anything, but it worked really well for this game and for the combat system they had. You also have your special abilities again. Like here they, I mean, I'm a bit behind, but yeah, they used the environment. So again, I want to see more of this game. It was more that I was surprised. I was really, really impressed by how good this felt to play in particular.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's more than just a Souls-like, I would say. It also feels a bit less punishing, and yeah, it still brings its own unique flavor to this sort of action genre that we've seen a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's also I mean, some of the boss designs are really interesting and unique, and I just think it's going to be it's one to keep an eye on. You know, who knows how this scales up as time goes by, but I think, you know, a lot of games get revealed and are utterly forgettable after the first trailer, and you're like, oh yeah, that was revealed 5 years ago, who knew? But this is one where the moment I saw it at Summer Games Fest, it sounds like the moment you got your hands on it, it's like, okay, this is one to keep an eye on. And
oh yeah, 100%.
That's tough to pull off. It really is.
Yep.
Oh yeah, well, but I mean, it sounds like you saw a good variety, a wide array, and
I did not even touch on 007, but I can talk about that, but cannot talk about that.
Yeah, something soon, maybe.
Hopefully.
I think they said summer of 2025 is when they're doing, like they said this summer, later this summer. So that's, I think
before the end of September. So
yeah,
then right, yeah.
Yeah, which feels weird because I always feel like summer ends in August, but technically they have through September.
No.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it starts in end of June, even though we have Summer Game Fest.
Same thing with like winter. June. Winter doesn't start until January
December
20, or 21st.
I think December.
Is it? Oh, is it?
End of December in the 21st? Netherlands, at least, in Europe or in Australia.
It always feels like it starts a solid month or two too late. So.
Oh yeah. No, that's why there was like once the Final Fantasy game, they were like, yeah, it's coming out winter 2023 or something. So we were like, okay, end of 2023. No, that could still mean February 20. Like, what the heck are you even saying?
Oh, they get away with the loopholes. Real quick, thank you to Motor Runner 67 for subbing over on Twitch. I'm sorry, this was like 45 minutes ago. Michael GTG, thank you for the resub for 6 months. Can we stop this talking about Ubisoft and AC? I know Jor is Ubisoft's biggest fan, but we're here for Gamescom stuff. Sorry, I also like Assassin's Creed stuff. I grew up playing them, so.
I mean, we only touched on it for like 5 seconds.
We did, and we didn't even touch on the biggest news, which is a new DLC for Mirage. That's happening.
But I feel like we cannot talk about that. That person would be very angry if we did. But it's interesting.
Mike will be upset. Real quick, Nerdy Giant, thank you for the 5. No James Bond gameplay. ... They said reveal would be in the summer, didn't they? Yeah, but like we said, could be till September. They might not do anything till like September 30th or whatever. Let's see. Oh yeah, Nerdy Giant also brought up, we mentioned this earlier in the stream, the gameplay for Crimson Desert. Yeah, we talked about that. Luke MF Smith, hell yeah, thank you for the 2. You should get Maddie on the pod somehow. That would be fun. We should do guests on the podcast. We should do that.
I'm totally up for that. I send a look at the James Bond sort of booth they have.
Oh, you did? Oh, hold on.
Through Discord.
Please
don't
hold
play it with sound. Don't play it with sound.
It's just Jor going, oh my god! Oh, this is so cool! Oh, I'm so happy! The whole time you brought your Switch to whatever they are, nunchucks.
Oh, that game is out, by the way. Did anyone like? Wow.
Did anybody play it? Look at this.
Yeah.
They got literal red carpet. Wow. Yeah. When is this? And this comes out next year?
Yeah.
That's pretty. That's a pretty car right there. Exclusive presentation.
Yeah.
Dude, IOI. They're coming out swinging.
Yep, they are.
One of the guys in line looks like Adam Sandler. So I'm going to choose to believe that it's Adam Sandler. Well, wonderful. Well, that's a wonderful thing. You know, that's why you watch the Free Roam podcast, because we send Jor out just for this show to go to Gamescom, you know,
100%.
and report just for us. So that's awesome.
Yeah. If there's anything else you want to know, let me know. But yeah, I think only Lego Batman would have been nice to play. But
yeah, that game looks fire. That one.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was revealed and people realized how much they missed everything. They missed Arkham and like solid, just fun superhero games. Really refreshing. Question, yeah, anything about Silksong? Did you get to look at it, see it? Did you hear rumblings about it, people talking about it, anything?
Yeah, so what was the case with Silksong? They had it at the Xbox booth on an Xbox Li ROG, but of course different. But they only had 4 pots. And there was already an enormous line. It was like a 10-minute demo. And I think they had it on the Nintendo booth as well. I know people who got to play it were saying it's insanely good. But I did not get to play it, sadly. So, Yep.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'll talk to Jor after stream. I'll get him in line. I'll get him in line. But, well, thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Next show will be on a day. I just have to pin it down because we are I have a busy schedule I will be able to reveal soon. But but we will touch base as soon as we possibly can. Thank you guys for watching and hanging out. I'll be on stream either tomorrow or Wednesday, whichever I feel we have enough to talk about stuff on. And until then, have a fantastic day, everybody. Okay.
Yes. Thanks for watching. See you later.
Much love, everybody. Bye bye.